Hey guys, J-Man here, and today we're doing another versus. This is going to be really hard. I know everyone's talking about Cobra Kai, everyone's pumped for Cobra Kai, and I was thinking I wanted to do something related to that because I am really loving Cobra Kai a lot, and I thought, well, why don't we do the original movie Karate Kid, do something on that, and I thought let's do Karate Kid 1 versus Karate Kid 2. So I don't know how this is going to play out because I'm not sure what I think I know what Sean thinks, but I don't know what my other panelists think. So I got a good diverse panel here to discuss the two Karate Kid films. For me, this is really difficult because I absolutely love both films a lot. They're both 10 out of 10 for me. So I think this is going to be really difficult. And you guys can kind of play along and give us your ratings as we go. But I'm going to bring in, so let's bring in our standard guys here. All right, Sean, how's it going?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
Right. I'm good. I've been like I've been a bit nervous about this one because I don't know I don't know. It's gonna be tough.
It's like picking between two like kids or something.
This is the Sophie's Choice of movies, right? Yeah. All right, okay. Let's bring in our second panelist. Hey, Steve.
Hey.
Okay, so are you? Oh, it looked like you were wearing a scarf for a second. I thought you had like a Tom Baker scarf.
Like an ascot or something.
No, I'm wearing a shirt under a shirt.
A shirt. Oh, look at this, man! This is like the formal.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm wearing X-Men today because today's my X-Men Day videos. Okay, so we've got the three of us bums as usual, but we need this is a tall order, so I needed to bring in two super special guests to get through this because like Sean and I we're probably almost tied on these two movies, so it's very difficult for us. But Steve, I don't really know your thoughts at all on this, so this is good. But I thought we need to have a couple more people just to kind of round this out and have like a really good, panel and a good discussion on it. Cause we'll see, I don't want it to be too one-sided, like, this is good. This is not, So, okay. Our first extra guest is Marc D with a C. How's it going, dude?
Hey, very good. Very good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's this is a tough battle to the death tonight, I guess, right? I mean, without getting into too much, we'll talk about it, but I mean, I know, the second movie is not that liked, quote unquote, by critics and things like that, but, rewatching it again, I think it's a great movie also. I agree with that. So it is a tough choice. So we'll get
Well, we're gonna go right. We'll get pretty deep into it, and okay, and let's bring in our final panelist for this evening, and that is Ron. Ron, how's it going, dude?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, no worries. Okay,
I finally got some background art.
Yeah, you got some. Yeah, you got everyone. It's only Sean's got a boring ass background, even though he has tons of collectibles. Like
I know,
it's just that they're not there. Like he's hiding them. He's like a closet nerd. And
you got to take a picture of him, Sean. Use like a background, like Neurotic's been doing when he was moving. Just have
yeah. Because he didn't have his Doctor Who set up, right? So he threw on like a fake. Like a fake background or whatever. And Steve's got some collectibles, but his angle's a bit weird. So it's like they're just to the sides of them. So you just can't see them.
Yeah.
But yeah, me, Marc, and Ron, we've got like the killer. And if I do
we're representing.
It's like, whoa, look at that. There's like that's the zoom out. But okay, so I'm gonna quickly explain kind of how this will work or whatever. So we're gonna do my rating method, which is called SPACE. So it stands for story, pacing, artistry, characters, and enjoyment. And the way I rate movies is I rate them on those 5 criteria. Each criteria gets a 0, 1, or a 2, and then you could do halves if applicable. So if I say the storyline is a 0. It's either a 1 or a 2. And at the end of that, because there's 5 categories, you get a score out of 10, and that's your score out of 10. Now, 0 is bad, 1 is good, 2 is great. Really simple. The story was either not good, okay, or great, and then you get your score. So by that measure, a movie that gets 5 out of 10 might sound bad to a normal person, but 5 out of 10 means that everything was pretty average, right? And most movies should get between 4 and 6 out of 10, right? If you're giving a movie 7, 8, 9, or 10, that's getting into really heavy duty, like Lawrence of Arabia is 10 out of 10, right? Like I would say Army of Darkness is 10 out of 10 also, but anyway, maybe it's 10 out of 10 for me, maybe not for you. But it makes it very simple to discuss the different points of each of a movie. So that with those 5 categories. So that's how we're going to do it for the 2 Karate Kids, except we're not going to score them. We're going to versus them. So we're going to say who has the better storyline, part 1 or part 2. And we're going to do our votes, and then we're going to say who's got the better pacing. So pacing doesn't necessarily mean if it's an action movie, it needs to be like fast paced. It's more like, yeah, action movies should be fast paced, and a drama should be well paced that you're not bored, but you need to have enough, going on to keep it interesting. So the pacing helps. The artistry is the music, the look. It could be the costumes. It could be the special effects. It could be the martial arts in this case, which plays a factor. The characters are the characters. Did you like the characters? Did you like the good guys? Did you hate the bad guys? And then the E is enjoyment. And that's sort of the intangibleness of movies where you might say, Army of Darkness maybe didn't have the greatest storyline ever, but I love it. So I'm giving it a 2 out of 2 because I just enjoy it so much. I don't care that there's other faults. So that's where we get a lot of debate with movies, where I might give a movie 6 and Steve gives it a 7, and Steve usually gives it a 7 because he enjoyed it a little bit more and upped that score a bit more. So again, if a movie gets under 4, if you're into the 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10, that's not a very good movie, because that means you probably didn't enjoy it. The story probably had problems, and the characters probably weren't very interesting, right? So for me, both Karate Kid movies are 10 out of 10. I don't care what the critics say. They're both 10 out of 10. So this is tough for me. So I think the way we'll start this is I'll start just to kind of give a really quick, just my relationship with Karate Kid, and I'll get everyone's relationship with the Karate Kid movies. And then we might talk about 3 and 4 for just a minute, and then we'll start getting into the scores, into the verses. Sound good?
Ron,
good.
Yep.
Sorry, I'll be right back. I'm going to switch to another device because I can barely hear you.
Okay, cool.
So I'll be back in just a minute, guys.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. Yep. Okay, so this is a good time to tell. Okay, so Karate Kid, I saw part 1, and then I saw 2 in the theater, 3 in the theater. I don't think I saw 4 in the theater because Ralph wasn't going to be in it. But I own them all on DVD. I've seen every Cobra Kai. I own all the Cobra Kais that you can own on DVD. I love the Karate Kid franchise. I saw the remake. But Karate Kid 1 and 2, I don't know what it was. I was in martial arts. I just love those 2 movies. Daniel was awesome. Mr. Miyagi is just the greatest thing ever. I love part 2 because like Sato is a great villain. I love Japan. That's sort of my dream place to go, would be Japan. Well, they're in Okinawa and all that. So I love like the setting, and them just walking around the streets is so cool. And like with Mr. Miyagi and like the relationship. So I just love the Karate Kid movies. 3 is where it kind of was a bit disappointing, but I've always loved both of them. I didn't really know that part 2 maybe wasn't as liked as much or whatever, but both to me were great. I don't know what it is. I wasn't really picked on in school or anything. Like, everyone was picked on a little bit. So I did have my fair share of, getting picked on, but nothing too bad. So it wasn't like I was like, oh yeah, I'm all pumped up for this movie because he beats up the bullies. It was more just like, yeah, I just like the movie. It's a great movie. So, I love the music and all that stuff too. So that's just like a quick, my quick thoughts on the first 2 movies. So while we're waiting for Ron then to come back, Sean, do you want to give just your quick impressions of the first 2 movies?
I saw 1 in the theater, 2 and 3 in the theater as well.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 1984, man. It was a bumper crop of original IP that just exploded, right? Gremlins, Ghostbusters, Buckaroo Banzai, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, I saw it in the theater, and the thing about Karate Kid was I feel like it was a perennial darling on VHS. Like it was at everyone's birthday party,
Yeah.
and it was basically a babysitter. It's like like parents just buy it and you just like sit for 2 hours and watch.
Right.
I remember there was a YMCA portable in my junior school, and I would stay there for a couple hours until my parents came. So that sweet spot between school and where parents come from work,
Right.
and they would play Karate Kid. So it's just always been there. Part 2 is awesome, and to me, Part 2 was like Die Hard 2. I always loved it, and I didn't know that other people didn't really like it. I didn't get that memo till I was like in my 20s. Like, oh shoot, I thought everyone loved this movie. The toys were underrated and cool. They made like Sato and Chosen and Johnny Lawrence and everyone. They even made the referee from the
Yes.
but the play set for that is super cheap. It's like a cardboard and a mat. It's it still has the fist. The cartoon was crappy. I like it because it's Ruby Spears animation of Miyagi and Daniel, but it's a stupid ass story. So yeah, Karate Kid's just always been there for me, and when they played on AMC all the time in the 2000s, I'd watch it, and my wife made fun of me all.
Me too.
Come to the room, she's like, you're watching Karate Kid again? I'm like, yeah, man, it's awesome.
I can't get enough.
You turn it on, it's like halfway through, I just sit down and watch the rest of it. It's like you've seen this, like I know, but I just want to see him kick Johnny Lawrence's ass again. and that whole, I remember one time, J-Man, you told me that what's his name? Ralph Macchio was on Rosie.
Yes.
And Rosie O'Donnell. And then
yes.
in one segment, all she did was just play that last part. There's like 5 minutes.
Yeah, she played the whole thing. And she's
yeah,
like,
and then that's when they went to commercial. So yeah, it's awesome. I love that got a resurgence with How I Met Your Mother.
Right.
I actually point the success of Cobra Kai to that, because that's where the whole Johnny Lawrence was right thing came about.
Yeah.
Which is bullshit. But
he's not right. We're
he's
not
not
we're
right.
not debating
This
that tonight.
This whole
he's not right.
Ironic BS, like Indiana Jones doesn't need to be in Raiders of the
That's
Lost
a
He doesn't
lie
have to do
too.
anything.
Yeah, it's people just trying to be trying to appear smart and contrarian, and it's crap, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, I love Karate Kid. I love that it's back for a new generation with Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And that's my.
I want to say what you're talking. I got the video game for NES.
Right, NES, yeah.
And I ended it 4,000 times.
Part 2,
I don't know why. Well, the first part's part 1.
It's
basically
super
part
hard,
2.
isn't it?
No, I beat it so many times, man. I don't know, everyone sucks at playing games.
Why does everyone complain online?
I don't know. They suck. I ended it so many times. I'm like, this isn't Battletoads or something where no one ended.
Yeah, that's
game.
hard. Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm like, this game is super easy, and it's got like 4 levels or whatever. I'm like, I super own that game. I did it like 3 times in a row or whatever. It's like, it's super easy. I don't know what they're talking about. And I could break all the ice and catch all the flies. It was like, I love the game. I thought it was great. All right, Mark, what's your quick thoughts on the first 2 movies?
Sure. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. I can't remember if I saw this in the movie theater. I think I did, but it's 1984, so I'm assuming I went with my buddy. I was in high school then, so I'm assuming I went with my buddies to see it. The second one maybe didn't get as good reviews. I totally forgot that until I was scanning the internet for the show and just reading some background stuff to refresh my memory about production and stuff like that. But as a kid, of course, I was collecting these kind of things. I was kind of the overweight kid, so I had Micronauts and stuff, and stuff
awesome.
like that. So you get and I was kind of that nerdy kid trading the Star Wars cards at lunch, and getting picked on, the kind of fat kid, until I started working out, and then I could bench press 330, and then the kids that were picking on me before suddenly were kind of scared of me now.
You can bench press me
because I could talk, and that was the whole time when Rambo, Rocky, working out, doing karate. So I had a friend whose brother was a black belt, so we took some karate from him. Never got very good, but good enough, in your own mind. You're always a legend in your own mind, until you fight someone else who's can whip your ass. But that was part of the zeitgeist or whatever you want to say back then. Working out and
Right.
and so that was, and this was both movies had the same director as Rocky, so it was the same director on both. So Stallone would always joke, to the director, you ripped it off. But that's why that story is just so universal. The kid that's getting picked on or the underdog.
Right.
So you just love that movie. And then the second one, I'm trying to remember when I first saw it. Maybe I did see it in the theaters, and I liked it, but like reviewing and watching it more, I think because of that great relationship with Miyagi, it's just so expanded in the second movie.
Yeah.
And you find out, it's almost Miyagi's, Karate Kid story in a way. So that, and it's just that great setup with Japan, like you said, and the scenery and, those rivalries there. I mean, it's very similar to the first movie, but because the actors are so good, because LaRusso, even though, his karate's for crap. I mean, whenever you see him do karate, but I was reading some stuff where basically he was probably the worst karate kid as they were training, but they're just such a chemistry there on screen between, it's like a father and son together that makes that second movie sequel work. Where I think like if they didn't have that chemistry, which is why the first movie I guess works too, obviously, but if they didn't have that, then it would have just been like, another hokey sequel cashing in. But it really the second movie really works. And I was surprised to see how reading about, like, yeah, people didn't like this. It was bad review. Sometimes people just don't want to be contrarians too, I guess, and say it's a sequel, it's no good. But I think it holds up pretty well. So
Yeah, like I didn't get the memo that Temple of Doom wasn't liked. I saw Temple of Doom first, then Raiders. So I actually saw them in chronological story order because Temple of Doom's a prequel. So I saw Temple of Doom first, and I was like, "This is the greatest movie I've ever seen." Then I saw Raiders. I thought, "This is the second greatest movie I've ever seen." And then like my buddies and all, because we all watched it together, we were like for decades. And somebody was saying, "Well, Temple of Doom wasn't that good." I'm like, I thought Temple of Doom was the best. I thought it was obviously the best.
Oh, you thought it was obvious? Yeah.
I was like, no, Temple of Doom is obviously the best. Why is there a debate?
Yeah.
It's like, no,
the Muppet Babies did a whole episode on it. How come you don't like it?
Well, I saw Temple of Doom opening night, and it's one of my best all-time theater experiences. Like because of the pack theater, everyone cheering, and that anything goes. That whole opening number. And all right, so it's the Wrath coming down the. Yeah, it's a little hokey, a little unbelievable, but it was like being at a concert or like a great sport, because everyone's just cheering, like going crazy for Indy. So it was just, I mean, even if you don't think the movie, in my mind, like I had such a great experience. Like, that was like such a big rush. It just, and if I had seen it with, 5 people in the theater, would have been, it was still good, but it's just that movie going experience. So like Karate Kid or something like this is like, I remember going to see Rocky and, when he beats, and Ivan Drago and everyone's cheering, going crazy. So that's part of the fun of these movies too, right? I mean, so
we're gonna do some Rocky verses for sure.
You got to catch the new director's. There's a new director's cut of Rocky.
I saw it the immediate second it came out. Like Ivan Drago is one of the greatest characters of all time. like Dolph Lundgren. Dolph Lundgren's chin is one of the greatest characters of all time. Okay, Steve, what's your quick thoughts or relationship to the Karate Kid films?
I thought Sean would mention that we actually took a picture of his wedding of him doing the crane.
Oh, shit! We forgot about that.
Yeah,
I saw that picture.
Yeah.
That's I did that intro. I did an NWO intro. You guys haven't seen this, but I did a New World Order intro with the music like from wrestling, but I put the 3 of us in it, and Sean's doing the crane kick, and I got that in the intro
with my wedding suit.
With your wedding suit.
Can I ask why you're doing that at your wedding? Were you fighting up Johnny Lawrence?
We're trying to come up with
steal your bride
with
or
weird
what?
Poses. It's like Zoolander and crane kick and all that. So,
Wedding pictures are generally boring, so we try and jazz it up.
Right, make it better.
Well, my best man's so he told my wife, I hope you have a great life with Mark. Like 20 seconds, and to me he goes, Mark, live long and prosper. So the whole wedding speech was like 40 seconds, and like my in-laws are like, we were expecting this long, all the BS, wedding, stuff. It was just like, live long and prosper was it.
It's like that's it.
That
That's
was
it.
yeah, he did the we're Star
He
Trek
did, yeah.
fans going. I'm gonna, of course, I have my Enterprise
Oh,
Playmobil
nice.
Enterprise here.
Nice.
So you
Oh
can see,
wow, that's
you
a
know,
big one.
Oh, cool.
that's the big one. Yep.
Damn.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
got
awesome.
so I'm living long and prospering, hopefully. Yeah, we'll see. But
Did you put that
yeah, so
together,
that's
or
fun.
does it come pre-assembled?
It's probably about 2 hours to assemble. There's no glue, but it's mainly putting stickers on it. So eventually I'll get around to doing a review of it on my channel. But it's more just like, assembling and patience so you get the stickers right. But no gluing and
It was
anything.
always irritating with
high-tech.
stickers. I don't
Stickers
think I
were
ever
a
put
pain,
them
yeah.
on,
No.
but
It's
You had to
hard.
for this one, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Karate Kid, I saw 2 first.
Right.
Which 2 starts directly after 1, so you'd think I'd have a problem with that, but I didn't for some reason as a kid. I was like, sure.
It does recap a lot.
Yeah.
The first 10 minutes is all the highlights basically.
Yeah.
With the original ending, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, sure, I saw the best part of the first one. I don't need to see the first one now. So I saw the second one, and I thought it was terrific. I didn't know people hated it until this literal conversation tonight. I just thought everyone loved it. I was like,
I thought it was part 3 everybody didn't like.
yeah, well, I can understand part 3. When I saw part 3, I was pissed. I was looking for someone to hit after part 3.
Yeah.
I'm like, Terry Silver needs to be killed in real life, like seriously. And then part 4 happened, and I'm like, why? Hilary Swank, why? So I didn't see part 1 till years later, and J-Man showed me, and it was a pretty funny story because I was visiting him, and Blue Crush had just come out.
Oh
And
my
he was
God.
saying, we're going to watch Blue Crush. All right, cool. Blue Crush, surfing.
That's that
That's
surfing
surfing
movie. Nobody knows.
Bunch of girls in that. There's a bunch of girls. It's the blue.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
So
I've
I
seen
saw
that.
I saw it in the theater. It's a great movie. Why would you not want to
It's
watch
the
that?
Star Wars of surfing movies. It's
It
great.
is. I
Yeah.
own that sucker. It's a great movie.
So we're like, okay, Blue Crush. And for some reason we're talking, and I told him I never saw Karate Kid. So he's like, we're not watching Blue Crush now. And I'm like, but you sort of jacked me for Blue Crush. I want to watch Blue Crush now. I know what happens in Karate Kid. Does the big pose, kicks the guy, yeah, whatever. He's like, no, we're watching Karate Kid. So we sat down and watched Karate Kid, and obviously it's brilliant. I haven't seen Blue Crush to this day. But
Oh my God! Okay, we're gonna watch that now. 20 years later, we're gonna watch Blue Crush
Next week.
Kate Bosworth. Yep. That's
But
right.
Karate Kid is obviously you can tell when you watch it why it was so popular, right? It's got a ton of heart. It's a classic underdog story. It's got great performances. So yeah, it deserves to be a classic. I just missed out on it. I saw it 20 years after it came out. So I was like, yeah, it's cool. Everyone else is like, this is a classic. I'm like, all right, it's one of, again, I'll say it again. The 80s, and I think Sean touched on this, was embarrassment of riches. These movies that are great now was like Tuesday night to us, right? There was, and Cobra Kai, I haven't seen one frame of Cobra Kai. I have it on DVD, but TV shows are my kryptonite, so it takes me a long time to watch TV shows.
You gotta literally Cobra Kai comes out, and I just watch the entire thing. I don't.
You didn't sleep. You just watched 10 hours of Cobra Kai.
I was up till about 1 a.m. It's like I just can't. I can't because I'm ready to turn it off. I'm like, okay, I'm determined. I'm stopping.
They hook you. Then
and then they hooked you. Right.
They hook you. Right?
Yeah.
Daredevil
Right.
did that to me too. It's just
Daredevil's.
Yeah.
Daredevil.
Yeah, they make TV series the real way, where there's something to hook you into the next episode.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then
'Cause
you're like,
it'll
I'm just
end.
gonna watch 5 minutes, and then you watch 20. Oh, I might as well finish the episode, and then they hook you again.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you're mad because you watch it all in one day, and you're like, oh, I wish it was kind of spread out. It's kind of like eating something all at once. Like, oh, I should have saved that for later. But
I just did that today. I had a coupon that was expiring. I had 3 junior Whoppers and 2 small fries. I'm like, I gotta eat this whole thing because my wife can't stand Burger King, and I'm like, well, this coupon's expiring. I don't throw food out. I'm like, and I had a beer with it, and my wife's like, she's like, we didn't eat that much. I'm like, I had 3 junior Whoppers and 2 fries and a beer. She's like, oh. And then Steve sent me some Christmas chocolates, and I ate the entire box.
I may or may not have done that too, but yeah.
I ate Steve. I ate the entire box. My wife had 2, and I ate
They're
all
homemade.
today.
These aren't store bought. They're homemade. So
I ate
Wow.
both.
yeah.
So
So I might have to take a break soon, huh?
I know. I ate it a while ago to because I know my system, so I'm like I should be good. Okay, Ron. What are just really quick your just kind of impressions of Karate Kid from when you first saw it, and then we'll get into it.
Okay, just the first movie. What I thought.
Not just the kind of your relationship to it. Like, did you see them in the theater? Not really reviewing the movie, but just sort of like both movies. Like I saw part 2 in the theater. Sean saw 1 and 2. Steve saw 2 first and 1. You know, just kind of like how you got onto Karate Kid.
Yeah, sure. I know the first one came out. I was probably about 1, and I wish I could remember the first time I saw them. It was probably like the early '90s, those good old days when you couldn't binge watch stuff. They were like, "When are you going to see that episode again?" I really liked it. They're like, "Probably never. It's never coming back on the air."
Yeah.
But I remember I probably saw the first movie first, and because I remember watching each of the original trilogy in order, and you know, growing up when you're a teenager in that, like you can really relate to, you know, Ralph Macchio's character in that. So it's very uplifting, and then the second one, the second and the third, even though we're not talking about the third really, they had darker tones to them. They just felt like more threatening, the stories in that. But yeah, I can't really remember the first time I saw them, but I'm pretty sure it was in like the early '90s because I remember my parents let me record on my VCR like Total Recall, and I was way too young to be watching that.
Oh, you're never too young for Total
Yeah, I was
Recall.
about to say I was pretty young when I saw it, and I was like, yeah, that's cool.
We were young. We played the NES game. It was, yeah.
But yeah, those movies, I mean, they still hold up. But I typed out all my notes. I kind of have my script in that. All I had to look up was the names, just so I wouldn't be like, you know, that one character who was in that one scene. They'd be like, who's talking about?
All right, good. Yeah. So so we'll do it once we do the categories. We'll go through and then and see what everyone's kind of picks are. We can talk about 3 and 4 super duper quickly, just to get them kind of out of the way. There's no point in really having them as part of a versus or anything like that. I mean, like 3, I was hyper disappointed because for me, the Karate Kid wasn't. Look, the martial arts was not very good, at least on Daniel's side. And I recognized that when watching it because I was in martial arts and I was watching, as Sean knows, we were watching Shaw Brothers films and we're watching we're watching all this crazy stuff. I'm like, this is not very good. Karate Kid to me is Miyagi and Daniel's relationship. And that's literally the whole thing of it. Very few times. Hey, lovely Sherry, thanks for popping in. Very, very few times do I get emotional in movies, but Karate Kid 1 and 2, like instantaneous. If like as soon as he's like, you're the best friend I ever had, I'm like, that's it. This is the greatest thing ever. I've got the little car that he's got. They came out with a little set of Hot Wheels for that. So like part 2, everything that happens that's even remotely emotional, I super get emotional for. I don't know why. And then like 3, I'm like, oh God, this sucks. And then part 4 is like, oh God, it's like, you know, Hilary Swank, I like her, but it's men beating up a girl. I'm like, what is happening? Like, why are these guys bullying a girl? I'm like, oh, that's weird. And I guess they didn't want to have all females fighting, so that was weird too. Miyagi's just kind of there.
That's a good point, yeah.
Like, yeah, like and then like Terry Silver, like Chosen, this stuff. Well, we'll get to that, but like Terry Silver and the other guy and all that in part 3, it got to the point where I'm like, yeah, I think I would probably be calling the police,
Yeah.
right? Like the first one was they were bullying him and it was pretty rough, but you know. It wasn't like just that one part where they're like where Johnny was so angry in the skeleton suits and then they're like, no man, he's had enough, right? And you know he's like, I'll decide when he's had enough, and then Miyagi steps in, so it's like okay, and then from that point on, it's not too bad anymore, right? And then part 2, the thing is in Okinawa, it's like, hey, listen, it's Okinawa, man, they don't give a shit. It's like this little dinky town. Chosen's like, listen, man, I'll kill you if I got it. So that the stakes were higher, which we'll talk about. But you can't really do anything. It's not like the Okinawan police force is going to come and do something, or like, you know, there's not going to be, you're not going to call like, friggin' Interpol or some shit, right? Like it's like you're just it is what it is. But part 3, it's like this is like outrageous. Like I don't know. It's just I just felt like this was so outrageous that it took me out of it. They split in the movie. I'm like, now you're not together. I'm like, what is this movie? I understand what they were trying to do to make it different, but
they were searching for something to do something different.
Yeah.
And it was just listen, just because it's different. Lesson for all films. Just because we haven't seen it before, and just because it's different or new, it doesn't mean it's good.
Right.
It still has to be good. You can come up with a new idea, but that doesn't mean it's so good. That's my quick thoughts on 3 and 4. Sean, what's your quick thoughts on 3 and 4?
I was disappointed with part 3 when I first saw it, and it's grown on me over the years.
Yeah,
and they put a new spin on it with Cobra Kai saying that he was all coked up. And I love how newbies are like, he was on coconut movies. Like they never said that in that movie.
They never said that.
His performance is so over the top that they retroactively said, yeah, he's on coke, right? Yeah, Karate Kid 3 is Steve's not gonna like me saying this, but Karate Kid 3 is the Muppets Take Manhattan of Karate Kid, because in both movies it's like everyone splits up, everyone's mad at each other, and I don't want to see that, right? Yeah. I get it, they're gonna get back together, but that whole sequence where they do get back together and train is so quick and unsatisfying that it makes you shrug your shoulders and say, well, why did you do all this BS for like a good hour of this film?
Right.
Yeah. Part 4 is okay. But I don't like the comic relief aspects of Miyagi and that, and the Abbots or something like that, or
whatever they are.
It's they're okay. I mean, like I pop them in every so often, but like they're very, very much the lesser of the series.
Right.
So,
all right, Steve, 3 and 4, real quick.
Yeah, 3 is a turd. There's no other way to put it. Like it's so over the top ridiculous. Like, and the payoff is so measly. Like there's no payoff. There's just like it's very minor. Like he needs to destroy the entire cast. It's like Live and Let Die. For me, Bond needs to murder every other character in the movie, and if he doesn't, it's a fail. Well, it's the same with Karate Kid. Daniel doesn't kill everyone other than Mr. Miyagi. It's a fail, and it's a fail. So, 4, I start watching. I'm like, if Hilary Swank starts being a smart mouth to Mr. Miyagi, I'm done. And I think it was within 20 minutes she was a smart mouth. I'm like, I'm done. It doesn't matter to me. Like, it's very mediocre, but like, they compared to 1 and 2. They're not even in the same like postal code or zip code.
Well, all right.
You gotta change into your Power Ranger.
Sorry. Oh, did you hear my? Yeah, that's my thing. Is Power Rangers. Sorry, guys. Zordon's calling me.
Power Rangers. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, listen. I used to have C-3PO, and then I used to have the TARDIS.
Yeah.
But then I had the call from Star Trek, the wee, right? But then my wife really wanted that, and then we both had it, and none of us knew who was getting a text. So then I changed mine to Power Rangers. It does reveal my identity, but you guys, I think you guys are cool.
That's awesome.
I'm an RPM Power Ranger. I'm not.
What color?
Well, green's I like green. Green's my favorite, but Yellow Ranger's my favorite. She's right there.
Yeah.
Okay, Mark, your thoughts on 3 and 4, real quick.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I just remember not liking 3 and 4. 3, obviously, not liking, much, like you guys are saying, over the top, although it is getting redeemed, I think, now with the current season of Cobra Kai. So, I mean, no spoilers, but just because I know some people haven't seen it, but it just kind of, and I think even Ralph Macchio, I was reading an article, he said he really didn't like the third movie. He was being kind of nice, but he said at least we're getting a chance to, go back into that story a little bit. And Cobra Kai has been doing some of that kind of stuff. We're changing sides, so to speak. So, I mean, it can be fun if it's well done, but just it didn't work in the movie. It just didn't fit for Daniel's character and, to leave Mr. Miyagi. So, and the fourth movie is just kind of like, oh, let's rehash it with, with a girl and just do, that story. And Hilary Swank, was good in it, but it's just, it's like, would I've been upset if they never made the movie? No, but you did get to see, more of Mr. Miyagi, I guess, but it's not, it really doesn't add anything to the series. It's, it's kind of just there. I mean, it's not, I'll watch it, but again, maybe, but it's not like, oh, if I'm going to go watch a Karate Kid movie, I'll put 1 or 2 in, obviously first before putting 3 or 4 in. But I'd say 4 is probably a little bit better, just because it's not so crazy of a story, and it didn't go against some of those character principles. But
Right.
so yeah, 1 and 2 is the real battle here. Those are the real heavyweights. Yep.
Well,
Yep.
part 4's got Michael Ironside, so that has
Yeah.
to like level it up.
Yeah, Ironside's great. Yeah.
And he's awesome. All right, so Ron, 3 and 4, real quick.
Okay. I don't want to get kicked out for this, but
Uh-oh.
3 has actually always been my favorite.
Oh,
That's
Oh
okay.
my God.
that's okay.
We're not going to fight
Yeah,
you to
no,
death.
well,
Yeah.
That's totally cool. We could do this with 4 people. We don't need 5. We don't need 5.
No way.
That's cool.
But, I always liked, because like I said, the second movie had kind of a darker tone to it. And I'll get into that with my notes and that. But the third one kicked it up even more. I loved Terry Silver. I think it's really cool that Cobra Kai brought him back. And I haven't seen the show, but I've definitely seen, on Twitter and that. And I'm the one sitting there like, I love 3. And I'm like, he's back. And I'm thinking like, yeah, guys, that's because of me, like, see? Terry Silver, I mean, he was kind of over the top, when he's in the bathroom on the phone and that, he's like, I like that. I'm going to use that. And does that laugh. And
Yeah.
it's
like,
over
what
the
is
top.
happening?
But just the whole revenge plot story worked so well. And then the fourth one, thinking back on it, it just didn't have, no pun intended, but it didn't have like a kick to it. Maybe if they had Julie tie into the original trilogy, if she was like a distant relative or something of Daniel. But it's just like they rebooted it, but it was way too soon. Like the cast is great, like you said, Michael Ironside, and of course we have Hilary Swank and Mr. Miyagi's back. But it's one of those, it's just kind of like, oh, I forgot about that. Kind of like even the reboot with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. It's kind of like, oh, I didn't order that. You can send it back. Even with a great cast, it's still like, oh no, I didn't order that. The original is fine. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need the extra crispy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about the remake super quick. Like, look, I saw the remake. I bought it for like $1 when Blockbuster closed, and I bought every Blu-ray they had for $1. So there's that. I mean, I watched it. I think it's Kung Fu. I have to tell you something. This might
That's Jackie
seem,
Chan. Yeah, it's Jackie Chan.
It's Jackie Chan. This is going to not sound great, but I'm going to have to say it because it's the honest to God truth. If that kid is there with those Asian kids who do this all day and all night, he would get obliterated. Like, I was in martial arts, Taekwondo. It's Korean. My masters were the 3rd degree black belt. There's another guy who was a 2nd degree black belt. These guys came from Korea to inspect how the dojo was doing or whatever. They wiped the floor. This guy was like a red belt or something. He's red belt, and my master was 3rd degree black belt. He wiped the floor with my master, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, the belt colors don't mean so much when you.
They didn't mean jack shit. Okay, these guys. So I'm like, Jaden Smith is there. I'm thinking, buddy, you're gonna get your ass destroyed by these people. Look, the top row is Canadian. Like, I never played hockey. My mom tried to get me into it. I can't do it. But look, hockey players, we got the hockey players, right? Like, I don't know what if you did hockey,
doing it, you grew up doing it. Because I had the same experience. When I told you I was training a little bit, and you're a legend in your own mind. And then one of my buddies was from the Philippines in college. We were in the karate club there, and we trained. And he's like, "All right, Mark." He's like, "We're sparring," and of course, the first time you get punched in the nose,
right?
Like, oh damn, that really does hurt. It's like, it's like the movies. It's not like Rocky. And then he's like, we're sparring. He's like, I'll show you, how fast I can be if I needed to. So he's like, I don't even know what the hell he did, but I felt his foot on one side and then a foot on the other side of my face. I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
practically. You know, it's just like, and he's like, and he wasn't trying to be mean. He's like, you know,
Right.
he was training, but he was just showing like, you know, full tilt. He's like, but don't move. I'm going to show you what I can do. And it was like, holy, you know, because he grew up, you know, on the streets of the Philippines doing martial arts for, you know, 18 years. So, you know, and then you're in great, and he wasn't even in great, looked like he was in great shape. He kind of had a beer belly, and he was a lanky guy. And he's just like, so you're right. I mean, and the karate, yeah, you know, the karate in the movies is not the best, but it's the emotion behind it. And like Terry Silver's character, actually, you can tell, and Johnny Lawrence, the actors, they're pretty, and you know, they're much better, and especially today, you saw Terry Silver. He's still, for an older guy, and Kreese even, you know, he's in fantastic shape too. So
they're much better. Yeah, like, and well, we can. You know what? Let's get right into the story of the two movies, because this is what I'm going to say to that ties into the story. So I'll just start with the stories for the part 1 and 2. So right now we're going to decide which has the better story, 1 or 2. I was going to say the story of part 1. Yeah, the bullying, the relationship, that was all great. What I took out of that, this is what I took out of it. I took out of it that Johnny Lawrence and Cobra Kai and these guys are learning this kind of like, we're badass martial artists, but they don't really understand the true meaning of it, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. So Daniel can easily beat them because he's understanding the true roots, the true meaning, the spiritual meaning, what it is to be, you know, training in karate, right? And he goes, well, Miyagi hate fighting. It's like, well, but you like karate. He's like, yeah. He goes, well, why do I like it then? He's like, because I don't have to fight, right? It's like so that's the point. So when Daniel can beat these guys, I'm like, yeah, he can beat them. Maybe not if they all gang up on him or on the streets, but in a tournament he can, because he has the quality, not the quantity. And then in part 2, the storyline flips because Chosen has living his life, you know, training with Sato, who is equal to Miyagi and trained under the same master. He's been doing it his whole life. He obliterates Daniel. It's like, okay, buddy, who are you? You're nothing. And karate does use weapons. I know they keep saying the open hand, but if you study it, karate, you do learn weapons. And he's do you know how to fight with a spear? He's like, no. It's like, there you go. I'm kicking the crap out of you. This is why I like these movies, because it was realistic too. It's like, look, you know, where are they again? Oh, where are they in Karate Kid 1? What city are they in?
In
Reseda.
Reseda,
Yeah. So it's like, look, Reseda, is that supposed to be some karate play? Like, you know, like, give me a break, right? He's like, oh, I went to the YMCA and learned some moves. Like, yeah, okay. So that was bullshit, right? Like, right? Like, Chosen could have destroyed all of the Cobra Kai people at once, right? Like, that was my thing. It's like, so it was much tougher. But anyways, okay. So story 1 and 2. You know, I'll go last in this one. Let's start with Marc on this one. Let's go reverse order.
Okay.
Marc, the storyline of part 1 versus the storyline of part 2. Which one do you think has the better storyline, and why?
I think 2 does, because 1 is like that standard, you know, Hollywood, you know, bad guy, bully.
Right.
But 2 kind of opens it up with Miyagi's background, and 2 I don't think would ever work without 1 in terms of knowing the characters really well. I mean, although I think, Stephen, you said you watched, you know, 2 first, but I mean, so I guess, but it really, they have that you know, relationship there that's just so fantastic. And I think I love having that reconciliation with Sato and Miyagi.
Yeah.
And you know, at the end, you know, I don't know how much we're getting into all the scenes, but you know, and the end with, you know, with the fight, and then the was it a hurricane that's coming, or a typhoon? I guess
it's a typhoon. Yeah,
typhoon
I
in
love that.
Japan.
That was awesome,
So I mean, so
man.
there's some great, you know, great scenes, and it's always, you know, and meeting his father, and that one scene where they put the 2 hands together. So I think but so I think the story in 2 is actually surprisingly better, because normally it's, you know, just a rehash. In some ways it is a rehash, but you get that to see Mr. Miyagi's background and culture in Japan. You know, no offense, California, it's gorgeous, but it's kind of cool to go back to Okinawa and see the history there. So I'd probably give the nudge to the second movie as an underdog, I guess. The underdog number 2 knocks out number 1 for story for me.
Yeah. Ron, what do you think? What do you think's better, 1 or 2?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marc on this. I'm going to skip over some of my notes because we actually already referenced some of the stuff that happens. See, I'm gonna give it up to 2 because throughout it, I mean, everything with Miyagi and with Sato, you don't know what's going to happen with them.
Right.
And then you have the conflict between Daniel and Chosen. And well, both movies, it's pretty easy to follow because I mentioned that, in 2, everything's set up for when they go to Okinawa Island. Like Miyagi says exactly when he needs to. We know what's going on. And it happens so early on in the film, which helps it. But and just like the first movie, it doesn't divert from its destination. It balances the romance between Allie and Daniel well without overshadowing the villain aspect. And the same thing in 2. And it still manages to highlight all the scenes with Miyagi. The first one is definitely a good blueprint for a first installment / origin story. But I got to give it to 2 just because it just seems like the stakes were higher for Miyagi and Daniel.
Okay. All right. Steve, 1 or 2?
I'm going to go with the panel so far and say 2.
Wow, 2's already winning on
wow.
this category. Okay.
One is, and I said this in my Movie Elite article, cheap plug. Part 1 is
no
East
cheap plugs.
versus East versus West. So Daniel is the East Coaster.
East
He's
versus
got
West, or man
he's got the
against-
accent. He's got
Anyway,
the
sorry.
accent.
You could
He's
do the
got-
whole song.
He's got the dark hair, the brown eyes. He's the outsider. He goes to California. Johnny's the classic SoCal blonde, blue eyes.
Right.
Right. It's East Coast versus West Coast, right? But it's very packed. The one thing that I will say is that Karate Kid is very safe because of Mr. Miyagi. No matter what happens, Mr. Miyagi is going to lead him to the proper place as long as he continues to listen to him.
Right.
Part 2, even though they go back to Okinawa, which is where Mr. Miyagi's from, you feel Mr. Miyagi's as much of an outsider as Daniel.
Oh, that's a good
point.
Wait, man.
Thank you. He's out of his element. He's been gone so long. He's disconnected from those guys. You feel that he's no longer in control. He's really scrambling as much as Daniel is, and that assurance you don't have. So what you guys are saying about the stakes is absolutely true, because you're like, that safety net of Mr. Miyagi, which we had in the first film, is eradicated. Now it's true danger, and for me, that makes the movie that much more interesting and that much better for the story, at least.
Sean?
I'd say it's hard for me to say. I'm going to go with 2, but let me just say 1 is brilliant. I mean, the fact that, like, pretty much all of it is training. It's like, even when when Daniel smashes his bike and then Miyagi repairs it, and then he's all, like, worked up, and he saw this, right? And Miyagi saw this. So he gets him to cut the bonsai tree, and it teaches him like calm and discipline, right? And then there's the balance, the breathing, the technique, and the punchline for the technique. That was awesome too. And it's like, I didn't know, like, my dad gave it away because he's like, oh, he's teaching him technique. And I'm like, well, I would like to have gotten that surprise. But it's like, yeah, he's doing the thing. And then
I mean, your dad didn't send you in the backyard to wax on and wax off on his car before you watched the movie?
Okay, wax on, wax off. But yeah, no, all that stuff is great, but I feel like 2 is more rousing to me. I mean, it's like the stakes are higher. As Steve said, like, yeah, there's an unpredictability factor where usually in part 1, Miyagi like bails his ass out of things, right?
Right.
And even goes to, like, Kreese and says, like, okay, lay off him, and then they listen, right, for the most part. And in part 2, it's like, yeah, but, like, Sato runs the place and hates him, and Chosen is crazy, so it's like, and anything can happen here. And the end with the storm and everything, and, like, and Chosen going into the back like that. The dude with the wife beater and the mustache is the best, and that guy's awesome. In the back of the shelter. Yeah. But and then after that they have the big fight to the death, and with the drum technique. It's just more appealing to me. So I'm just gonna say 2 edges out 1.
All right. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna say part 2 as well. Though I was gonna say part 1 only because of everything that Sean said too. Like the building of that relationship is super important, and it's very hard to do. And it 2 had it easier in the sense that okay, that was already ready to go.
Mhm.
Now we're just expanding the story, raising the stakes. Part 2, yeah. Part 2 is Daniel goes to a new place and faces a new enemy and a new love interest. And Miyagi goes to an old place to address an old love and an old enemy.
Mhm.
And that's genius.
Yeah.
Like I mean that is like super genius to me. I was like, it's like if you actually start to think about the structure of what this is, because part 2 movies that are sports related are usually the same thing, but they have to train again. Whether that's Bloodsport 2, Mighty Ducks 2, like
I just used it.
Rocky 2.
It's the same guy.
It's the same, right? Yeah, like Rocky 2. It's like, oh, I got to fight Apollo again. I'm like, okay. It's like, right, and it's like, but you kind of won ish, but you didn't like, you know, you went the distance, but you kind of didn't win. So I don't like you proved it, like, but now you got to prove it again. It's like Mighty Ducks 2. When I sat there in the theater, and they're like, oh, we weren't training in the off season, and they have to train again. I'm like, F this movie, I'm done, because I really liked Mighty Ducks Part 1.
Yeah,
right. I really liked it a lot, and I'm not a big sports guy, but I was like, this is a fun movie. And then Part 2 was like, oh, we have to train again. I'm like, really? But Karate Kid 2 is not that. It's all new things, because now Miyagi's fighting a guy, and I literally thought Miyagi's fighting this guy.
Yeah.
At the end of this movie, and they're going to reverse it, right? Like it's going to be his big battle at the end or something, right? And I'm thinking, oh, this is crazy. So, and then that didn't really happen. Hey, they subverted your expectations in a proper filmmaker way, not like JJ and Ryan Johnson.
Not just
you think he's going to kill him in the end, and he rescues him, right? So
right. Oh
with
man,
the strike.
Oh, we're gonna get into the characters, and I'm going to talk a lot. But anyways, Oh man, but part 1, it laid the foundations. It has the you know, you're the best friend I ever had. It has the like even with him when Miyagi's drunk and then he sees that, you know, the wife and the kid passed away, and it's like you're like, oh, that's really sad. It's really tough. They're both like so good, but yeah, I'm gonna say part 2 just because of whoever came up with the idea of we're going to the old guy's going to his old place to fight an old enemy and see his old love, and the new kid is going to a new place where he's never been, and he's got to fight a new enemy and a new love. I'm like, this is kind of genius. Like, so part 2 wins for story. So it's across the board win. Wow.
Although 1, like you were saying, 1 is really good. So it's like a slight, you know.
Yeah,
it's a slight edge, right?
One was copied and recopied by everything after
times.
that. But they never captured that relationship between like mentor and trainer.
Are you saying that Billy Blanks movie? What was it called? Damn, I forgot the name.
Kick. What was it?
No, Sidekicks was Chuck Norris, but Billy Blanks was Showdown.
Oh,
where he's the janitor and he trains the kid. FYI, my TC 2000 has shipped from Vinegar Syndrome, and my Tiger Claws trilogy and my Scanner Cop Part 1 and 2 have all shipped.
Nice.
We should do Scanner Cop 1 versus Scanner Cop 2. No. Okay.
Scanner Cop 2.
Electric Boogaloo. Okay.
Cruise Control.
Yeah. Let's take a look at what hey, Pineapple dude, hey, how's it going, dude? Are we doing we're not doing 3 versus 4 because there's nothing to talk about. First one you haven't watched in the last year. Yeah, okay, so you gotta part 2, man, you gotta like go for it by the part 2 crease. So that was supposed to be the ending of part 1.
Yeah.
Right.
But it worked so well.
Why did they not put? Did they decide to pull that or from part
really
1
know.
or I wonder? And do you think
the thing is the whole honking the nose and stuff, it doesn't call back to anything, and it'll come out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
You might as well just end it the same way you ended Rocky. It's like he fights the guy, he wins, done. You know.
Yeah.
And that's and it's the same director too.
Because I was trying to remember. I thought did they film that scene?
They filmed it for part 1.
For part 1, they decided it so smart editing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you guys think that Kreese knew that Mr. Miyagi was a Medal of Honor winner? I was,
I don't know.
probably
That's a
not,
very-
right? I'm just because I'm now, of course, watching Cobra Kai and then
Yeah.
seeing
Yeah.
this again. If he had known that he's a Medal of Honor winner, which is the highest award you can get in the military, and I wonder if he would have had the same attitude. But that's for another
Yeah, I
another
think
one. But it was
Kreese-
just
That's interesting. Yeah.
I
But,
always got the sense that he was slightly. I wouldn't say the R word. I wouldn't say he's a race car driver.
He's
but I would
deranged.
say- I would
You're
say
really
that
sick, man. Yeah.
Yeah. You're really sick, man. It's like, yeah, Mr. Miyagi's right. Leave him alone. I say, let him go.
Yeah.
But we're not going to do. Well, I could do lines from the movie. Sean and I do lines from the movie. While
you
we
can do
talk
them. They're good. They're
shows.
good. Yeah.
But J-Man,
Yeah.
before we get into the next part, I had a note that I wrote at the end here.
Yep.
This does factor in 3, but not too much. Somebody posted this on, it was, I don't know, Twitter or something years back. They said that they would swap the plots of 2 and 3, making that final fight between Danny and Chosen even more impactful since we're not in any tournament mode anymore. But I think it works for the Cobra Kai involvement, but then part 3 would seem so out there. Whereas the original formula works well because we divert in the second chapter, going to Okinawa Island, but come back even stronger in 3 with the introduction of Terry Silver. And so I'm curious what you guys think on that, just really quick.
The thing is that like, it's if this falls into the category of if they had done this or whatever, it's very difficult for me to like think in those terms. Like this is where people say yes, but the director wanted this. Not. It's like I can only judge what came out in what order it came out. Maybe I'd feel differently if they swapped that around or if they took elements and moved them around or whatever. It's tough for me to think in that term. Like I'm watching part 3. I'm like, I don't like anything what's going on. I rewatched it again, and it's just I haven't rewatched it again in a long time. Maybe after Cobra Kai would be better, but I just couldn't. Like even if you swap those around, I don't like the idea that I don't like when people break up. It's the Muppets Take Manhattan thing. Like I'm watching this. Like the man Sean. I know why we're beating up. That movie's cool. But like anytime the heroes get angry and they don't want it, if a hero loses his powers, that's enough. Except for Spider-Man 2, which is the only time I thought that was okay. If a hero loses his powers, I'm almost out the door. Right? It's like if you turn someone evil, like Superman in that thing. I'm done. Except for Superman 3, where he's only the dark Superman for a little bit and then he's back, right? That, or if the main characters split up, like even in Batman and Robin, where he's like, I want my own Robin signal. I'm like, really? No. Like, stop it. Like this is whiny.
Robin, yeah.
And Daniel's like, oh, I'm gonna go trade on my own. It's like, really? Would Daniel really do that? Like after all
we've
this?
been through? Yeah.
Like there's no way. They forged a bond, which is like maybe if part 3 events were right after part 1. I don't know. The bond in part 1 was pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean the second one, Daniel just buys a plane ticket and goes to jump on the plane. Of course, there's no security back then, and he's and he doesn't even tell Mr. Miyagi, right? He's like, I'm coming. If you let me, I'll come with you. And he used all his college funds. So I mean, that kind of bond. You get it back.
Ice,
yeah, you got it back. But look what that kind of bond there. So yeah, I mean. Some of it's just lazy writing, I think, just to try to. But if you like 3, like don't want to pick on Ron. If you like 3, and I always say if you enjoy a movie, don't let that's fine too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's sometimes you see a movie, it's like a certain time in your life, or it hits you, and then you find out like, what do you mean other people don't like it? I love that. So I always don't like. I like Shang-Chi. I did a review of it. I gave it.
I like Shang-Chi a lot.
Yeah, so I gave it an 8 out of 10, and everyone was like, you're not just gonna kill me, but it's like. Then I was watching all the other reviews. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what's going on? I thought everyone else, why didn't everyone else like this movie? Is there something wrong with me?
It's not that bad, right?
Yeah.
Well, and also just to keep this in mind as well, we're always talking about within the universe. I'm not comparing like Karate Kid 3 to another movie. I'm comparing Karate Kid 3 to 1 and 2 because that's what I'm comparing it to. I don't do like was Friday the 13th Part 6 better than Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3? Like, it's like, or whatever, it's like, is Karate Kid 3 better than Last Crusade or something? It's like, we're just within its own stuff. Like Karate Kid 3, I'll take Karate Kid 3 over like the prequel or the sequel trilogy, right? Like, it's not like that, right? It's got a lot of fun things in it. So it's like, we're not hating on Part 3, but it's just after 1 and 2, which I thought were I cry in Part 2 every time anyone does anything that's like somewhat emotional. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, even when he's buying the plane ticket, he's like, I really like to go. You do everything for me. I'd like to do this for you, please. I was like, okay, that's it. You got to take him with you.
Daniel giving a big speech to Miyagi about his father and everything.
That's the best. That's
an eye buster right there, man.
Oh my God. I did the best thing for him. I sat there and I held his hand and I told him I love him. I said goodbye. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? Like,
and if you've been through that personally too, which unfortunately I have, I'm sure maybe other people have, then that's a real, that's and you think about that as a younger, I was in high school when I saw this, the first Karate Kid. So I don't know if I'm aging myself here, but when you view things through a different lens too, like watching that scene really hit home a lot more because now that I'm older, I've actually been through that, unfortunately, with my dad. He had cancer, and then you're saying goodbye there at the end, which so it was really, really touching. But as an 18-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid watching it, maybe you haven't had those experiences. Although it's really well done. You just having when you're older, then it really hits home more. Which is why these movies are so good, because the characters are so well done and believable, and you really feel for the characters. It's not just like some not this stereotype, like just this trying to pick of like a stupid fight movie or something that maybe it's just fun to eat popcorn and watch and great. Versus the characters have heart. And then when you find out Mr. Miyagi has a Medal of Honor, it's like, holy crap, that I know they wanted to cut that scene out with Marita in the first one, and that just makes the movie too. It just makes that character so elevated, and you really respect them, of course, knowing what they went through with the internment and then fighting, and then knowing what you have to earn the Medal of Honor. I think this is the second movie. You guys are better on the quotes, but he said when Daniel wants him to show off the Medal of Honor, he's like, no, that's in here, right? Or he says that I don't need to, why do I need to show that off? But it's and that's the experience I've had with knowing veterans, or especially World War II veterans, like finding out, reading obituaries later that like a neighbor fought on D-Day, and then knew the guy for growing up for years, playing outside, a baseball and the pickup and talking to and then you're like the guy, and we kind of picked on him a little bit, and then you find out he well, not in a bad way, but he said, just you didn't have that respect, and then you find out the guy fought in Normandy, and then you find out that his wife was in the Women's Air Corps and fought, was overseas, and you're like, holy, but never, today, everyone talks about their lived experiences and all this stuff. Like they'd like write it across their forehead, like, by the way, I did this X, Y, Z, and it's just so representative of that generation, I think.
Yeah, Miyagi's point in Part 2 is that he's not heroic for earning those accolades. He's just lucky.
Yeah, he says this says you're brave, this says you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
That's his thing. Is like, but yeah, well, my grandfather was in the military. I've heard zero. Well, he's passed away. I heard zero stories. Like he just didn't talk about it. It's just like he played like an instrument. I saw photos, and I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, it's just like okay, like it wasn't a thing for him.
Well, it's not something you brag about,
Yeah, I don't know, but okay. Let's move on. We'll switch the order up a little bit. Let's do. I'll go with Sean first on the pacing. So 1 versus 2. This is slightly tough. I don't know what the running times are for the two movies. I didn't really check.
2 shorter than 1.
2 is shorter than 1.
Yeah.
So again, that doesn't necessarily auto win Part 2, right? Because maybe it should have been a bit longer to get more depth into it, or maybe Part 1 could have been trimmed a bit, right? So we're trying to see what the pacing good for the movie that you watch. So what do you think 1 versus 2, Sean?
I love both of them, so I'm not criticizing here, but I I think part 2, I think, is better for pacing. Because I don't feel it as much as 1. I love 1, but the thing is that, like, if you were to look at the time, it's like you're more than an hour into it and they're still doing Wile E. Coyote bullying with Daniel. And it's like, I get it, they're bullies and
Right.
he has to get back at them. There's a lot of great stuff with the training and all that stuff in the relationship. But I think 2 gets the point a little quicker, even though it's not as quick as you want. But I mean, they go to Okinawa, they meet a whole bunch of characters. Like, there's a lot of stuff to do. And then he has to show off the breaking the ice and everything, and he has to learn a drum technique. And I think it really goes. And then by the time you get to the storm, and it really, really picks up pace, you're almost at the end of the movie. And I feel like I feel the time more with 1 than I do with 2. So I'm just gonna go with 2.
Okay. I'm gonna go with 2 as well for almost exactly what Sean said. I don't really have anything more to add. I just feel that 1, I get it. They're bullying him. I wish that kind of got wrapped up a little bit quicker, and just get to him and Allie doing their thing, because it's really the relationship with him and Miyagi, him and Allie, and him and the Cobra Kai guys, right? And it's like that could go a little bit quicker and just get to it more. At no point in time was I ever thinking that Allie was going to not go with Daniel or whatever. So
Yeah.
I just felt like it's sort of like, I think it was Casino Royale, where everyone knows that Vesper is not going to stick around with Bond.
Right.
If you read the book, you know she's toast. If you didn't read it, you know, because of what James Bond is, that's not going to stick. So why are we spending 35 minutes on this? Oh, they're lovey-dovey, and there's like, what's happening here? Like, just like,
don't get me started on the new James Bond movies.
We're not going to do our verses on that because they're all trash.
I hate the new Bond too. Thank you.
But anyways, so that's the only thing. Whereas, because I automatically know what's going to happen in part 1, whereas part 2 I don't automatically know, so I'm always like, ooh, what's happening? Like, I'm anticipating more. So that's why part 2. Let's go. We'll do Steve and then Ron and then Mark. So Steve, what do you think for pacing?
I'm going to give it to part 1.
Oh, nice.
Reason being is because, and I agree with what you're saying, but the thing is that I think in part 1, when you're watching it, you understand it's a process, and you understand that Daniel's got to go through his process in order to get to the point where he's ready to fight the guy. So it's really annoying that you're seeing them bully him constantly, but you understand it's part of his journey to get to that end tournament. In part 2, you are literally scared for these guys because the stakes are off. Like, the Chosen is a lunatic. And I was feeling in the movie like Mr. Miyagi has to step in and realize that this white glove treatment that he's giving, and sort of like, the guilt he's feeling, and that you gotta face the imminent danger. And I feel like it took him too long to get there, in my opinion, where he was like dealing with it. And at the end, I know it's ridiculous, but Mr. Miyagi doesn't beat up anyone. Like, he can't, but like you're almost like, this is more his fight. I felt like they were almost like using champions. And I was like, this is more your fight. It takes too long, in my opinion, for Mr. Miyagi to take that danger seriously. Whereas in the first one, I think he was giving him the tools throughout to fight. He understood that these are just bullying kids, and you got to beat them where you got to hit them in where they live, and that's the tournament. There's nowhere where Chosen lives. There's no, like, the end fight it's a street fight. Right, basically, it's not a tournament. So you're like, no, Miyagi, you gotta start doing this way sooner, to me, because this guy's going out of control, and it goes a little too long for me.
Yeah, that's very good. Okay, no, that's some good. That's some good points, Steve. That's tough. Okay, all right. So Karate Kid 1 has a point on its side. Ron, 1 or 2? What do you think?
Yeah. Steven, that's another really good point. I was going to go with 2, but I'm going to give it to 1.
Oh my God! This is like 12 Angry Men. What made you change your vote?
I'll be right back. I'm going to retype my notes. Just give me like an hour. But because I'm trying to separate, because 2, it's with the story, but I'm thinking just in terms of pacing. And
Right.
so with the first one, I can't think of any scene I would remove. Movie gets everything done that it sets out to. Nothing ever feels rushed, and nothing seems to like get in the way. The final tournament doesn't drag, and it's funny because early on, I think Marc, he pointed out the director who also did Rocky, and I just totally blanked on that when I'm writing my notes because I think Stallone gets the kudos for the training montage used in movies. So that helps with pacing as well. You do a montage with some, good music in that, instead of spending like 10 minutes showing him doing kicks and stuff. But and then in 2, basically everything that I said for the first movie, it actually feels like a longer movie than the first one, and but it's actually like 14 minutes shorter.
Right.
And nothing seems to drag. Some of the shots, the moments are a little slower, but the music can help carry them. And then the final fight between Daniel and Chosen feels more intense because there's no tournament, no rules this time.
Right.
But it's not like misplaced, like it has to be at the end of the movie, just like the All Valley tournament. But yeah, something's telling me, so I'm going to give it to 1.
Okay. Well, okay. So, Marc, not to put any pressure on you, but you are the deciding factor of the pacing of the 2 Karate Kid films.
Yeah, I'm the swing vote here. Well, actually,
Yes.
Scouts honor. I am an Eagle Scout. I had decided on 1 of 4.
Okay.
Hearing Steve, all these good points on both sides. But 1, I think, gets it. It's the first movie, so remember, kind of going back to seeing it the first time, you're just more excited to meet the characters. It's something new, and it's so well done that it grabs you, and you love Mr. Miyagi, and you love that scene where the skeletons and the Cobra Kai are just the skeletons. That scene in the high school. Although, of course, Johnny Lawrence, now we find out he's the one being bullied, but just kidding.
Right.
And that scene where you're all pumped up, you're like, oh, Mr. Miyagi is here to save the day, and he's that nice, the nice guy in the apartment building that you're not sure about, but the whole thing moves really fast. That was a great point, Ron, too. 1 is actually longer than 2, and not to say the pacing on 2 is bad. I think just being that first one, and it's a little bit more exciting seeing those scenes, and 2 has maybe if I'm going on memory, but a little bit more reflective in some spots. I think 1 has more action. So I'll give it to 1 there. I'll be the Supreme Court flip vote.
Okay, so this is okay. This is good. It's not all one sided like Blade 2 or Blade versus Blade 2 was. It was basically like Blade 2, Blade 2.
It was
Blade
a sweep.
2.
Yeah.
So, okay, Blade 2 wins. Okay, so the next category is art, which is going to include. So this is film is an art. There's music involved. There's like costuming involved. There's cinematography. In this case, there's martial arts as well. So all of this plays a factor in your enjoyment of a movie. So we got to figure out which one maybe just looks better or just gives you more of that feeling. The montage is a great thing to do. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down, right? Which I love that. Yeah, I literally took my jukebox, which had a record button, and I would play the movie and I put it to the TV, right. And then I recorded that song.
Yeah,
I recorded all that music, and then I.
You didn't just download it from Spotify?
No.
I do that all the time too.
I should have waited 20 years or what?
I did that for Buckaroo Banzai, like the end credit.
Buckaroo Banzai, same thing. Yeah, do. So I think, but part 2 Okinawa, just people walking around in another country is like automatically cool to me. I literally there's this guy on YouTube. It's like it says like walk around Japan, and he has like this killer 15K camera, whatever. Maybe it's a 4K camera, right? He's got a 4K camera and he walks around Japan. And my wife for like 2 hours. And my wife and I are like, this is the greatest thing on YouTube of all time. Next to, of course, the great channels of Marc D, Ron, and Sean, of course, but whose links are all in the description of this video.
Thank you.
But oh, actually, Ron, no crap. You know what? I didn't realize I don't have yours. Send me your link, and
I'll put it in the private
after,
chat. Yeah.
I'll put it in the after the fact. Hey, Clobberin, how's it going, dude?
Bobby.
Hey,
So
Clobberin.
yeah, so just walking around like this is the greatest thing ever. So I don't know, man. This is really tough because the music is so important in part one that like you just start to get pumped, right? I don't know. I'm gonna wait before I give my because I can't do it. I can't do it. I think I might lean towards part two, but I want to hear what everyone else has to say, and I'm gonna be the guy who's like waiting to hear what everyone else says. I'm gonna be the middle guy. I'm gonna be Jack Warden from 12 Angry Men. Who's like waiting to hear like where is he gonna sway to or whatever. Sorry for all these 12 Angry Men references, but it's like in my top 10 favorite movies. So, but okay, let's start with Ron then on this one. What did you think? What do you think for the artistry?
All right. So for the first movie, The Karate Kid, all the fights were well shot. Excuse me. These movies were way before the shaky cam era, so you can actually see who's hitting who. And it's a it's a good looking movie that's very balanced throughout with the shots. The training montage on the beach looked good. That one kind of stood out. Plenty of solid establishing shots, especially at the All Valley Karate Tournament. And that helps so you can kind of see who all is there.
Right.
And the wide shots help so much with the scenes involving fighting and or training. So you can see a full kick, turns and dodges and all that. So again, with the camera work. And but I'm going to give it to part two. The final fight between Daniel and Chosen. You notice in that fight, there's a lot of colors in the background, like on the characters' clothing and that, and all
because they're doing that whole that festival.
Yeah, I just watched that last night, and I was like, that's interesting because you can still distinguish Danny and Chosen from everybody else.
Right.
Because Daniel was wearing red, and then Chosen, I believe, had like a yellow on. And a shot that also stands out, the kiss between Danny and Kumiko was very well shot because they had that wide shot from the side, slowly zooming out as they lean in to kiss each other, and we see the window view of the outside behind them with the wind blowing. And also the scene in which Daniel comforts Miyagi after learning that his father passed.
Yeah.
The shots there are just so simple, but they really help carry the emotion. And again, with the camera work in that one, because they zoom out from behind, Daniel puts his arm around him. And because if they shot that from like an airplane or helicopter way up,
right.
But so I'll give it part two.
Okay, so part two. You know what? I'm gonna say part two. Look, it's Okinawa. It's awesome. Screw it. It's like the shot. The typhoon thing was super awesome. That was very cool. Their little tea ceremony was really pretty. I thought that was really nice. The music is good in both. The music is probably better in part one, but it is what it is. I don't. Oh man, I think part two.
Peter Cetera is gonna have an issue with you.
I like everything. Listen.
I know, joking. Yeah.
Oh man, I did the same thing with part two. I like part two. It is there's some sappy songs, but they're nice. Okay, let's go. Okay, Marc, what do you think for artistry?
Yeah, I don't think it's a fair fight there because you've got Okinawa as the backdrop with those gorgeous, and then on the ocean there. I mean, ocean scenes always win out. Just even as a director, I mean, one did a good job, I think, too, in terms of doing, working with what they have, but just in terms of, being beautiful and enjoyable, but of course you never forget, when they get in that station wagon, that, beat up station wagon in New Jersey and drive across to California, and they get to the place and the pool is empty. It's got like green water at the bottom. But I guess, I mean, one did a good job in terms of, making things look believable and real. And, there wasn't anything that looked, chintzy, shall we say, or not well done, or those gorgeous bonsai trees in the first one and Miss Miyagi's apartment. So I guess it's like, if I just had to watch the movie with the sound off, I guess I would pick two because of the gorgeous scenes in Okinawa and like Ron said, with those fight scenes and the colors. But one does. It's it's almost not kind of unfair. It's like
Right.
in terms of the location. But I'll go with two on that one.
All right, so two's won already majority, but let's hear from Sean. Sean, what do you think? And Sean is starting to do. He just did a new video after 14 years or something. Sean posted
back
a video.
in the game. Back in the game.
Sean, yeah.
Out of retirement.
Sean has posted a video. It's very exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've got another one coming tomorrow. It's just looking.
Oh
for
my
comics.
God!
So,
Two
Man,
videos.
so
I've got
you're
two
kinda
more
like-
next
you're
week.
kinda-
I'm trying to do a habit here, so.
Nice.
Two
You're kind of like
videos,
Cobra
man.
Kai coming back after all those years, right?
Yeah.
Hulkamania,
like
run wild.
Sean's cool, man. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Sean, 1 or 2 for the artistry, please.
I think 2 would be the popular answer because of just the location. I think one's the better soundtrack, of course, and the montages are better to me. Like the training is better in part 1. I'm gonna go with part 1, man. I know it's the unpopular answer. I think like listen, part 2 is awesome. It looks awesome, but also like I think the script for part 1 is so smart. It's like it's something that, as I said, was ripped off constantly after that for a reason, because everyone wanted that magic from part 1.
Right.
So I say for screenplay and for montage sequences, training sequences, and the soundtrack, I would say 1 edges out 2, even though both are equally awesome. But if I had to nitpick, I'd say 1.
Okay. That's well. Well, let's see what Steve says, because it's still 2's going to win because the majority. But let's see, Steve. You're not the deciding factor, but we're going to see, is it going to be a majority or?
Yeah, I agree with Mark. It's not fair. It's 2. One is everything that Sean said. I mean, I know they try and initially not show how beautiful California is, but it's impossible. It's very sunny. You got the palm trees, you got the beach. And I kind of like look at the settings for both films based on Mr. Miyagi's state of mind. Right. He's very peaceful in that in 1, and Weber's peaceful. In 2, it's more tumultuous because his personal life is more tumultuous. There's more, there's the typhoon, but there's also, like, I recall there's like rain and stuff a lot. Like, it's a little bit more like rough. But Japan, like, no offense, California, but I've seen you in a million films. Like, friggin' Japan is exotic. It's beautiful architecture. The lantern ceremony is beautiful when they put the lanterns on the water.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll agree all day long about the soundtrack and that for 1, but 2 just destroys it visually. It's not even close to me. So
Okay.
Can I just address Clobby's comment about the comic version? So that always confused me as a kid, because they always had a credit that said used with permission from DC Comics, and of course, like he's a Legion character, right?
Yeah,
I have
what's going on?
almost
Where's
all
the
of
Legion?
Yeah.
Pardon? Yeah. Yeah, I'm missing 3, 4, 7, and 15. So if anyone has them, but yeah, he had his own comics. So
Yeah, I remember Karate Kid.
Yep.
I don't think I have any of those though.
Well, it's like sorry, I was gonna say, like Hulk Hogan, when you read the ads, it says under license from Marvel Comics.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute, because they yeah. Yeah.
Thunderlips.
Yes, Thunderlips. Oh, we gotta
Thunder Lips.
3 versus 4.
You should fight Creed in the next movie, I think.
So what was that, Ron?
I think the next Creed movie, kind of going off topic, but because my dad and I always talking since the second one, we're like, who should he fight in the third one that's gonna, up the stakes in that? Because we're thinking like Mr. T, Clubber Lang or Thunderlips. Have Creed fight one of them or both of them,
What I would do is I would have, there's a scientist who gets Clubber Lang's DNA and Thunderlips' DNA, and creates a new guy for like I would just make Creed outrageous now. Like they already did the drama. I would just make it like
Take the it's like Serpentor. Take the
I want
DNA
Serpentor. Yes,
from, like,
that's
Clobber
actually
Lang, Thunder Lips, freaking Drago,
Drago, and
Apollo Creed, Tommy Gunn, and
Tommy Gunn, and Spider Rico. Spider Rico, get him in there.
And
How much Thunder? Thunder
I have the
Clubber?
powers of Spider Rico.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then Creed hits him, and then it's like, and then he turns. He's like, son. It's like, dad. It's like I'm also. I also have.
I
the
am your
spirit
father.
of your father. It's like, no, and he's like,
Spoiler alert.
he just beats the
with
crap
enough
out of him.
cocaine, you could probably pitch that, and you could get it.
and then it's like no, and then he loses, and then Karate Kid, then Rocky, and they have DNA from like what's his name, Burgess Meredith or whatever. They get all their things, so it's like it'll be like Shazam. It'll be like the spirit of Mickey. And like the heart of Rocky, it's like and then it's like he gets so if he says Creed, and then it's like a thing comes.
Anyone Hollywood producers are out there, please contact J-Man.
Please contact me. I have a script ready to go. I will sell you that idea. No, I like they got it. Like, look, I'm tired of these pedestrian movies. I mean.
Well, when you pitch that, you must say it's like Serpentor. It's like no one knows what Serpentor.
Who was the greatest thing ever? Serpentor. Like, hello. It's like,
and there can even be like a little of Mr. T himself in that other one, so he pities Creed after he hits him.
You should just fight Clobberin Lang now.
Yeah,
like, he's just still the same person.
Or just throw some time travel in there or something, or have a mirror universe.
Oh my God! Stop it! I
think that'd be a little too much. Everything else is okay, but
Clobberin times won't like the mirror universe idea. No,
and he's got a goatee. He's got the
yeah.
Remember in South Park, like even the females had goatees or something. It's like everybody had goatees in the mirror. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So what's the score right now? We got
the story. So part 2 is winning on the story. The pacing is part 1, and the artistry is part 2. We're onto the characters now. I'll go last on this one. Let's go with Marc. Marc, let's start with you then. So the characters, whatever. Who had the better characters? I guess.
Who had the better characters? I think. Oh God, this is tough. But I think I'm leaning towards one right now. Let me think it through. But I think. Yeah. You've got those great villain, Johnny, is the great villain, and the Cobra Kai and Kreese, just the scary sensei, and it's more relatable in terms of being a kid in school, and more people relate to that. And he's got Elizabeth Shue, who didn't want to go out on a date with Elizabeth Shue if you're watching that movie when I was in the 80s. I mean,
Adventures in Babysitting.
Adventures in Babysitting. Yeah,
I saw that so many. I could probably do the whole movie for you.
You couldn't have that movie today with the swearing that's in it, and it's the first appearance of Thor, of course.
Yeah, first appearance of Thor.
Yeah. So Thor's in that, and Kingpin. Yep. Yeah. But I think I'm leaning towards one with the. I mean, it's not like taking away from 2. I think 2, has the Chosen is kind of the over the top, crazy, really scary villain, and Sato is really scary too. And you meet Yukio, so you do meet some great characters. But I'm leaning towards one. Of course, in the second one too, there's Elizabeth Shue is just gone with that. Daniel comes back with the prom with the car is smashed up, and she's dating a quarterback or something now. And
she redesigned his fender, wasn't that nice?
Yeah, redesigned the fender. Yeah, and the engine's not running right, and Mr. Miyagi fits it. He's like, show me how you did that. He's like, later. I'd like to have that skill too, but I think it's just when getting rid of her character in the second movie. I know why they did it, just because they couldn't have there was no way they're going to get her to Japan. Just like in the second Back to the Future, the directors didn't realize they're going to have a sequel, so unfortunately they had. The girl turned into Elizabeth Shue, but they knocked her out for half of the movie because they didn't know what to do with her. So at least they didn't make that. They just kind of wrote the character off, but it kind of fit into the plot, I guess, of Daniel being down. But I'll go with one. And plus, seeing it if you watch it in order too, it's always better to your introduction to those characters. That's the first time, that first Star Trek episode you watch, you're like, holy crap, that was so good. So
You're talking about Discovery, right?
No,
No,
no.
They renewed that garbage for a 5th season.
Yeah, it's got a 5th. Well, if you like it, God bless you. But I'm still waiting for a good story, and I've watched almost all of it, and
wow.
Well, we don't want to get into that, but
oh my God, no,
I'm still waiting for like a good episode. I haven't seen a good episode yet, but
I'm gonna not bless you. If you like that, you're dumb. Okay. Yeah, no. Listen, I'm doing straight talk. Remember Dolly Parton?
Straight talk.
This is straight talk. If you like Star Trek Discovery, you're not a Star Trek fan, and you suck. Okay, Ron, you don't like Star Trek Discovery, do you? I apologize in advance if you like Star Trek.
Oh, sorry, you were cutting out there. What was that?
Wait, he's got the Mikey Spock action. No, that's Charlie Chaplin. No, much better. Yep. Right, that's Charlie Chaplin back there. Looks like, yeah. There's
That's
no
cool.
Mikey Spock.
Oh,
back there.
nice.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any Buster Keaton? You got any Buster?
Yeah, I
Keaton?
got Buster Keaton.
Nice.
I got Three Stooges over here.
Yeah,
Buster
I got all that.
Keaton.
Nice.
What I did,
Marx
I took
Brothers are my
my-
favorite. The
Are those
Marx Brothers
photos
are my
or-
favorite.
Yeah, it's funny because the other day I was thinking about like, do I put up, because I used to draw cartoons when I was a kid. I was going to put all those up, but they're on white pieces of paper and they're all, there you
Sketches?
go. And in pencil. So you'll be able to make out anything.
Right.
So I took all my DVD and Blu-ray covers because I was like, well, I don't want to put posters up because then you'd have like, you could only see one here, one over there.
Right.
So I put up all the DVD and Blu-ray covers.
Good idea.
And Marx Brothers, because I love all that stuff. I actually, thanks for putting up the link to my channel also, because I make silent animated films. And you'll see some of the characters are very inspired and by the, the Marx Brothers, Stooges, and all that. So, but yeah, these ones over here, the Chaplin, it's not like the same movie or anything. It's all the collection.
Yeah. I have some of the better. I have some of the higher. I think I have like 4 or 5 Chaplins.
Like the Criterion collection.
Keaton.
Yeah.
I got tons. I own every Marx Brothers thing there is.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I was
actually
actually
making a Star Trek Discovery silent film. I hope, right? No, you're not going.
That
might be better though. Yeah,
that
Ron
might
does
better.
be better. Yeah,
because I'm sure the visual. I think I watched 1.5 episodes, and I was like, as soon as I saw the Klingons,
no,
that
the visuals even suck the shit. You know, I
do
love
they suck?
building like the new ships. The new ship, they have detached nacelles. So like, if you're building the model, you can't even. And the ships are ugly. We don't want to spend too much time on the reason was it's for maneuverability, so they've detached nacelles. It's like
okay,
oh
we're
my
gonna
God. We're gonna keep going.
Well, I'm gonna review Star Trek Discovery.
That's a fucking 50 DKP minus!
There you go. That's my review of Star Trek Discovery. Okay.
It never gets old.
It never gets old. No. Okay, characters. Okay, so Mark, you did. Okay, so let's just go. Ron, what do you think for the characters? 1 or 2?
Okay, I'm actually still deciding.
You want me to come back to you?
I'm going to read over my notes now, and
okay, I'll come back to you. Get your thoughts together. Steve, what do you think? 1 or 2 for characters?
2.
2.
Completely agree with Mark that 1 is like the perfect, like I don't want to say high school movie, but it's like that where. But the thing is that again, the danger, even though they try and amp it up, it's not the same as part 2. Part 2 feels more like, and I hate to say it like this, but adult danger.
Right.
Like I'm frightened of Chosen. Like this guy is off the rails, and that just increases the danger tenfold. He's kind of like that. You're not quite sure what he's ever going to do, and Saito is backing him, and you're just like, God, this is scary, man. I didn't feel scary. I didn't scared in part 1, even when the skeleton suit's on. I never felt scared. I really like the girl in part 2, and you have to understand, like, part of that is the fact that, unfortunately, I'm going to say this, like, she's with a gaijin, and
right.
like, to have that interracial relationship in Japan is she's going out on a limb. Elizabeth Shue is cupcake blonde. You know that is
Hey,
like,
watch
oh
it,
yeah,
watch it.
sure, blah blah blah. But the girl in part 2 is exotic, and I
Yeah,
don't
she's
know.
gorgeous,
I
too.
feel
Both are
for her
gorgeous,
more.
yeah.
It feels more genuine because she's taking that risk.
Right.
Everyone else is like Mr. Miyagi's awesome in both, and it was awesome in both. I'm not, so that's sort of a wash. But like, so I have to go to those secondary characters. Johnny and his crew always seemed like, one of those guys where it's like, I'll see you at the match. With Chosen in that, what match are you seeing them at?
Right.
Like, there's no way to get to them unless you force the issue. And that's really what bumps to in my favor.
Okay. So we got 1-1. Okay, let's go. Ron, what do you think? I'm back to you. You got to decide. The time is now.
Part 3? No. Okay, I have decided, and so I'm gonna go with part 2 because I was just going over it in my head. Because part 1, you have a lot of great characters in that, but with 2, because of the stakes in the movie, you feel like, with Miyagi's backstory, learning about that, his relationship with Sato, and then again with Chosen, it's just like it's stronger, the performances in that and the connection. So in the first movie, well, like Steven said, I mean, Daniel and Miyagi both shine in each of them. Great chemistry. And in the first movie, Kreese and Johnny are a great team and a perfect match for Danny Boy. And Lucille, Daniel's mother, she's a well-established character. She never gets in the way, though. And she's kind of like the backbone for Danny until Miyagi comes along. And with let's see. What did that say?
Oh, I was his hero because saying if you like Star Trek Discovery, you suck.
Oh.
Yeah.
But so Machio was in his early 20s when filming the first movie. So having already had the experience of being a teenager, he seemed to capture every emotion in his performance. So anyone watching can relate. And but with the second movie, again, Daniel and Miyagi, of course, they shine. And then the additions of Sato and Chosen. And they were like mirror characters of Danny and Miyagi. And they were very well developed. And Kumiko and Daniel have great chemistry, though I think her connection with him is stronger than that of Ali because, or it just seems like it was kind of displayed that way. Just a stronger connection. So giving it to 2.
Yep. So that's Marc is saying 1, and Steven and Ron are saying 2. I'll go next. For me, part 2. Also, because the thing is that like Sato, Sean and I, if you're not saying part 2, I'm going to be a bit weirded out. But look,
no pressure, Sean.
No pressure, Sean. No, but Sean and I talk about how great Sato is all the time, right? Like, listen, Sato is the greatest block of man. Like, he's just this block. That
you need the
walks around.
shades,
Yeah, he's like, so you come to face me, and I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, this man is
he
awesome.
growls every line.
Yeah. And then he becomes this good guy. He's like the sweetest person ever. You're like, wait, what happened there? He like 180'd.
I was wrong. Hate is wrong.
Hate is wrong. You know. It's like now you come to fight. The whole village see you, coward. And I was like, oh, I'm like, this is like so good. Like I can't. This is like General Zod in Superman 2. I don't care about what
I was
the
going
other
to say
characters.
that, yeah.
Oh, you're gonna say? I knew it. No, Sean and I know we're in sync on this.
Yeah,
one.
Sato and Chosen are like the Phantom Zone criminals.
Right.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Yeah, and Chosen, it's like he gets she throws the thing on in the melon, and he's
keep
like,
it for your collection.
collection.
He's got like a Mega Man like pets.
Yeah.
Like it's like
I got it. He's huge. He's ripped there too, right?
Yeah. And he doesn't just throw it; he throws it down like so angrily, like so, it's like you keep for your collection.
And his laugh is the worst.
Yeah,
it's like they even emphasize it when just before Daniel is gonna destroy the ice. He's like, it's like you just want to punch him in the face.
You know? And he's such a douche. And like I don't know, like Sato is so good. Like Look, Daniel and Miyagi are. Well, look, Daniel Miyagi's relationship is probably, without joking, is probably one of the best relationships for me in any movie of anything.
Yeah.
Not joking aside, no gifs or whatever. Like, I think it's amazing. Miyagi is a great character. The two of them together, it's like it's magic for me. So but like Sato just as like a fun, him and Chosen. It's like this is out. It's Terry Silver. I don't know. The thing with Terry Silver, it's like he was kind of getting there, but it was almost. I felt that it was a bit too mean, or almost like it was coming from a bad place where I felt like Sato, even though Sato wanted to kill Miyagi, it's like I just felt that Sato was cooler for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, he stole the girl. He stole the girl, right? That's a
he got the girl and all that.
Yeah.
Look, I love Adventures in Babysitting, and Elizabeth Shue in that movie was like everybody's crush. You can watch it right now. I'm like, oh man, right? And like her coming down and then Brad being in his stupid tennis shoes, and he's like, oh, she's like, yeah, I'm a little overdressed, And he's like, oh, Chris, I couldn't do it. I was like, F this guy. And then when Thing does the whole speech, he's like, I could only dream of having a girl like Chris, So she's awesome. But I don't know. I think Komiko and Daniel together super went well together, big time. Like Ali was a cool character, and she's the girlfriend. That's just her role. But Komiko, I don't know. There's something really magical about her. For me, the two of them together, I really like her a lot. I was so happy to see her in Cobra Kai. She's like my number one happiest person to see emotionally. Chosen being in it is awesome because Chosen just walked in. I'm like, he's awesome. But emotion, like if someone said, who would you rather have come back? I would rather have Komiko come back. I don't know. There's something about her. She wanted to dance and all that. And I don't know. I just liked her so much. So that's the only reason I'm giving it to part 2. Sean, go ahead. Part 2.
No pressure, Sean. No pressure.
The characters in part 1 are more culturally resonant, and especially with Cobra Kai. Like everyone always says, like, fear does not exist in this dojo, and then it's like insert whatever it doesn't exist in this dojo in like any comment section and anything.
Yeah.
And like Kreese, Johnny Lawrence, all that stuff really captured the imagination of like pop culture. But to me, I don't know. This is one of the things is like, I don't know why Sato and Chosen are not more popular. It's like, those guys are like the ultimate supervillains. It's like, they're awesome. Dude, like Sato was destroying that one piece of wood for like 50 years or whatever.
Yes.
I guess maybe that's why it's not part 2 is not viewed as well too either, right? Unfairly, I think we're agreeing as a panel, but
I think it's because they're seen as more campy. And not as realistic, but look, the villains in Cry Kid movies and even Cobra Kai in general are not realistic.
Of course,
a lot of the stuff they do is way over the top. In part 1, when Johnny Lawrence and the bullies make fun of LaRusso's mother. What the hell?
That's what Adventures.
When they make fun of LaRusso's mother to her face, I thought that crossed a line because in real life that never happens.
No.
With kids and stuff. It's the whole Eddie Haskell thing. It's like you're making nice to the parents, right? It just always they're always like over the top and unrealistic. But like Sato and Chosen are super like scary, and you have no idea what they're gonna do. It's like, and when Sato like winds up for that punch, it's like, oh, it's like that's mega scary.
Yeah.
It's like, and LaRusso's like, oh, what were you gonna do? He's like, well, I would block. It's like, can you really block that? I don't know.
He says even you could have blocked
that dudes or something. Yeah.
He goes, even you could have blocked it. He goes, even you could have blocked it. That was the best Miyagi line. That's where he's like, okay, Sato, you're not that good. Like, it's like, even
he's going to do a Hadouken or something. The characters and Kamiko, is that their name? Like, the actor who plays it, I think what works there is she really sells it. I think more so than what's his name? Ralph Macchio. But she really sells the whole, like, she like from the very moment she sees LaRusso, like she's like, oh, like she has a lot of great expressions, like great facial acting in this movie. Like I think she's like an underdog when it comes to like she's an unsung hero of the acting of that film.
Yeah,
but it's all good. I'd say part 2, man. It's like Sato and Chosen put it over the top. It's like there are like how many Cobra Kai characters in part 1, but like Sato and Chosen are like overpower them, man.
Yeah, they're awesome. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so
So the final vote is 4-1 on this one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
All right,
Uh-oh.
I disagree, but that's all right. We'll meet later.
It's like, what rules is it going to be? Is it going to be? It's like the one who's dead. How do you decide who wins? The one who's dead doesn't.
The one who's dead doesn't. Yeah. So
Well, I was gonna. Steve addressed best high school movie, so I had to throw this in there just so there's no debate on what's the best high school movie ever. Booyah, that's it. Right there.
Heathers
That's one of the best movies ever too.
and Breakfast Club.
Yeah, that Breakfast Club is good.
Yeah.
But
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Come on.
yeah, those
up
are all
there.
good. But you look, come on, you can't beat this. It's like you can't beat Heathers, man.
Fast Time at Ridgemont High.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
Too. I own all these movies that you're all talking about, and they're all great.
Doesn't
Okay,
anyone
just
knock
like-
anymore?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to. You know what I wanted to do? I want to do this for the Shaw Brothers collection, Sean. I was thinking about this. I want to do a tournament. Maybe we could do a high school tournament and get all the
Karate?
high school movies and do a tournament. And
You're not including High School Musical though in this, are you?
No.
No, I haven't seen
No.
those, but we'll take high school movies and versus them in like a do a versus
cool.
tournament,
Oh, yeah.
semifinals, finals, all that. I'm gonna look into doing that.
Would Night of the Creeps count?
I love Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps. That'd be interesting.
Oh man, I sometimes say thrill me if I know who's calling.
Yeah.
If I know who's calling, I'll be like thrill me. Some people don't call anymore; they text. I've been dying to use thrill me, but nobody calls.
No one phones anymore.
Nobody
That's the
phones
problem.
anymore. They just text you,
No.
right? Okay, but let's get on to the enjoyment value. So this is everything we talked about just now. Throw it out the window. Forget it. Who cares? Do you like part 1 or do you like part 2 better? You feel like watching something. I'm going to say part 2. I love part 2. It's one of my favorites. I love part 2. If I have to think of to watch a Karate Kid movie, I'm going to watch part 2. Reasons is that the first 10 minutes is an entire recap of part 1. So I feel like I'm getting the highlights of part 1.
Hey, that's cheating.
And that's cheating. You get the body bags. Get him a body bag. You get that line, right? You get all that. You get the final kick. You get the honk, right? So it's like you get everything, and then you just get all the chosen stuff and all the other awesome stuff right there. So for me, if I have to pick one, I like part 2. I don't care about the other reasons why. Just my own bias. I like part 2 better. Okay, Sean, what do you like better, 1 or 2?
Yeah, if I had to pop in a Karate Kid thing just to watch it, it's either part 2 or the terrible cartoon. So yeah, part 2, man, because it's just fun, and that whole like storm sequence, and it's like help him, and then he goes into the back with
Yeah, man.
with the mustache guy in the back. That guy's awesome.
Now, to me, you are dead.
You are dead. And then he runs
Oh,
off.
I cannot hear you, Uncle. I am dead to you. Remember? It's like- oh.
Yeah, no, 2, man. 2.
All right, part 2. Steve, 1 or 2?
I'm going to say 1, which is really unusual because usually the first one you watch is your favorite. But yeah, I mean, 2 is awesome as we've been discussing all night. But like, I don't know, like 2 makes me sad sometimes. It just makes me sad. Like 1 never makes me sad. You got a lot of great stuff with Mr. Miyagi catching the fly with the chopsticks, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And because it's a little bit more, I guess, tame. It's a little bit more safe, and I like that, right? Like 2 can make me angry at times. 1 never makes me angry.
Right.
I'm having a fun time. I got a big smile on my face. It's enjoyable. Wax on, wax off, all that good stuff. So it's 1.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. Ron, 1 or 2? Which one do you like better?
Well, I'm gonna have to give it to 1 because
Mark, you're gonna have to decide. Okay. Yep.
but
Go ahead, Ron.
yeah, I'll give it to 1 just because it is more entertaining because there are a lot more fights. Daniel, he gets beaten up, and of course, like Steven mentioned, the training with wax on, wax off. You can rewatch that. And not saying it's a better movie, but yeah, it's on the entertainment aspect. I'd watch 1 just because, I think there's just more action. There's more fighting in that, and just a good first movie.
Yeah, because movies have an intangible quality that should, like your enjoyment of a movie does matter. Like even if you watch like The Room, Tommy Wiseau, The Room, it's like a really shitty movie. Well, that movie's not getting a 0. It's getting a 2 out of 10 minimum because I absolutely enjoy watching it. It's super funny and I love it. So it's already better than like Star Trek Discovery, right? So like, which has like 0
either. I did not.
I did not. Yeah, it's like.
Well, hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we can do. Oh, Sean, you shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I know.
Now, Mark,
I
is gonna
realized
hear
halfway through, I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna stick.
I'm the
away.
deciding vote. Deciding vote here. Yep.
Oh my
Well, I
God.
decided this before again. I didn't.
Okay.
Although I agree with some of the things, I'm going to go with the first one, Karate
my
Kid
gosh,
1.
Yep. All right.
So and Steven and you guys, good reasoning too. Like it's the more standard fun movie to watch. It's more uplifting. Although Karate, of course, it does have the gut wrenching scenes. But part 2 with the father, Mr. Miyagi's father dying, and then all those years you find out that she never got remarried, so he could have been married to her. She could have left. So all those regrets and just in terms of strict enjoyment, like you're saying, doesn't take away from the movie. But going by those rules, I'd have to go with 1. And of course, the kick-ass, the crane kick at the end. I mean, who's not jumping up and cheering that illegal kick, as Johnny would say. But, I mean,
it's legal.
You're just so hyped when you see that. And the second one, the second one is it's like a fight to the death. And I'm watching. I'm like, wait, Mr. Miyagi's letting Daniel cross this moat with them. Chosen has a knife there to Yuko's throat there, and he's just letting him go across by himself to fight. I mean, shouldn't someone else be helping Daniel at this point? I mean, the guy's got a knife. I mean, so it's 1 is just more enjoyable, but that doesn't mean I don't like and appreciate 2. But if I'm waffling there, but yeah, going with 1.
All right, so 1 has won in the enjoyment. So this has been the closest I think that we've done. We've done Alien versus Aliens, and for me, Alien is a clear winner over Aliens. Blade 2 is a clear winner over Blade 1. Amazing Spider-Man versus Amazing. They're both crappy movies, but part 2 is enjoyably crappy, whereas part 1 is part 1 is boringly crappy. Like part 1 is boring crappy, but part 2 is fun crappy.
Yeah,
and Spider-Man is cool.
That was a fun one to debate. The Amazing Spider-Man's. Yeah.
You're pointing at each other like that.
Yeah, it's like what is it? But like, I mean, so this was really tough. When I was thinking about doing it, so Karate Kid 2 has actually won because the story, the artistry, and the characters have beaten part 1, which this seems crazy, but I like doing these because I think it really helps you kind of to think about it and give it more of a chance. Like there was no way that we're going to do Karate Kid 2 versus 3, right? Because that's very obvious. I would willingly like to try Raiders versus Temple, but I think a lot of people are going to go with Raiders. Like to me, Raiders versus Temple is not obvious. Like I really love both movies and I love Temple of Doom a lot. So, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what the next one. I was thinking about doing Swamp Thing versus the Return of Swamp Thing, but I really love one of them. And the posters, you can't see the poster, but it's right there.
I think I can. Is that
yeah, you can kind of tell what it is. I love
the poster again.
It's the Return of Swamp Thing, which is one of the finest films. And Roger Ebert would agree with me. You can go on YouTube and look at Roger Ebert's review of Return of Swamp Thing. He loved it. Gave it thumbs up. So if you want to be in the same group as Ebert, you have to give it a thumbs up. But
Back to the Future movies.
Yeah, I was going to say 1 versus 2.
That's no contest.
I think Back to the Future 1 is what I call like a perfect film.
Yeah.
There's absolutely not 1 second that is not the best in Back to the Future Part 1 for me. Like every single thing. It's not Army of Darkness where you could try to poke some holes in it, and I just happen to love it. Or 12 Angry Men, I think, is a perfect film. There's a few perfect films out there. Back to the Future is freaking one of them. Part 2 is a wicked.
It's cool.
It's a wicked fun ride movie. I saw it in the theater. I was like, whoa! My mind was spinning, and I'm like, oh my god, time travel! I gotta. And I was drawing that line and be like, okay, what happened? You know. But okay, just.
I just got the 4K set of Back to the Future. And I got to say,
Nice.
watching, and I had my kids watch it again. They hadn't seen it in a few years, but the second one is really dark and depressing. So, I mean, you know, and I think it kind of goes off the rails in the beginning, but the third act is a lot better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would pick 1, you know, easily over 2. But
I think
that's an interesting one, though.
Yeah, it's a bit too easy. I think. Like I don't. See...
1 is the perfect example of setup and follow through. In
Yes.
the movie.
Yes.
It's like they set up, and then they follow through, and it's so seamless.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's genius. So I mean, we'll see. But yeah, just to bring back to Karate Kid. So yeah, Karate Kid. Like, I think 1 and 2 are so equal that this could have easily flipped the other way. Like, we could have easily said, well, the story part 1 is the part 1. The story should win. It's part 1. Without part 1, there is no part 2. You know, we could have easily picked part 1 for that. The pacing, again, it's nitpicking stuff. Like, you know, part 2 is a little slow here, and part 1 could edit here. Like, characters is just going to go by who you like more, right? Like, it's like if you think Johnny's more of a douche and more realistic and more of a threat because he's realistic versus do you think Chosen is just so crazy that it's over the top, but you kind of like that? Like, it's hard, right? And, you know, and enjoyment is just completely whatever you feel like watching more, right? Like I enjoy Hellraiser 4, right? Would we say Hellraiser 4 is a great movie? Sure, why not? I like Hellraiser 4.
Don't mention Highlander 2 because that does not exist in
okay,
this
you know,
dojo.
I'm gonna listen. I like Highlander 2. That's
my god!
I've got the poster.
Oh my god!
Have you guys watched the Renegade version of Highlander 2?
Oh my god! Oh no! Yeah, I have, but please.
So the Renegade version is fine. The Renegade version, look, it's in the future. The sky is red with the laser, not in the 4K or the Blu-ray because they digitally changed it to blue. If we did Highlander 2 versus Highlander 3, or is that still not a?
I remember going to see Highlander. I almost crashed my car in a rainstorm getting there, rushing because it was late. And then I get into the theater, just going to the lobby. One of my good friends is like, "Don't go see it. Give your tickets back. Don't go in." I'm like, "Bill, what are you talking about? Like, Highlander's so awesome." He's like, "Just get your exchange your tickets. Trust me." So everyone I see him, he's like, you know, ask for advice. Remember what I said about Highlander 2? And then among our friends is a line like Highlander, like you're saying about John about the does not exist in this dojo. Our line like Highlander 2 does not exist among all our friends.
Okay, did you watch the Renegade version?
I did, but it's so sad, it's so soured by seeing that opening night. Oh my god, the horror of Highlander 2.
No.
Oh,
I'm not. I'm highlighting this comment, Clobby, but I know it's no, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Did you like the director's cut of Daredevil? I'll shoot you back.
I have a spam bot.
Oh, is that a spam bot?
I like the director's cut of Daredevil much more than the Daredevil movie. But
yeah, same. Hey, I think it was Steven who's. I want to bring it back to the characters really quick. The Karate Kid, because I think in the first movie, if Kreese knew about Miyagi, his experience in war, if they had kind of like their own story there, then it kind of would have been a tie. Because in the second movie, we know how Sato's connected to Miyagi, but it just got me thinking. In the first one, if Kreese and Miyagi had a past and kind of a conflict or whatever, then that may have won.
Right.
As far as characters, but yeah, still giving it to 2 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this was very close. Like, even if we did Highlander, like I would say Highlander 1 is better than Highlander 2, but I like Highlander 2. It's great. I have the poster, and Sean Connery's awesome in it. And Sean Connery goes to that. I just watched Highlander 2 like 2 days ago again. And
you only watched the Renegade cut, or did you watch the original version?
I never saw the original.
All right, see, so you did not suffer through the movie theater with me.
No.
And when watching, we're like, what the freak is happening on the screen? What are they doing? There's guys that look like monkeys on hover like with on wings flying around. It's like, what the hell is going
That
on
was cool.
here?
But it's
There's
the
another going to
future.
another planet. There should have one movie that should have never been has had a sequel is Highlander. There can be only one, right? With that
Yeah.
clean soundtrack, and he wins the prize at the end. What are they doing making sequels?
Because there's
Money.
more of them. They come from other time periods and plan. You guys are no fun. This is
is
Marc
fun.
and Clobby are
fun.
not fun.
This is
Listen.
fun. No, I'll talk about it, but I'm just you were not with me that opening night, and we're all pumped up to see Highlander 2.
J-Man.
And people
Have
were
you
like
done,
literally groaning during the movie.
No, okay.
Electric Boogaloo.
One of the worst ever movies ever made. What are you talking about?
It sounds like
Okay.
Clobby will be on that one for sure, J-Man.
Yeah,
Okay, Highlander 2 versus Last Jedi. Come on. Like,
Highland. Oh no, well,
dude, are you for
they
real?
both destroyed my characters, so I don't know.
They
It's,
didn't. Sean Connery and
oh
McLeod
my
were
god,
great.
you gotta
in Highlander
watch.
2.
You gotta watch the original. Oh my god, what they
I
did
mean,
to Sean
I don't
Connery in
know.
the
It's
first
hard
one.
to destroy Sean Connery's character no matter what because he's Sean
Yeah.
Connery.
J-Man, have
Sean-
you done Mortal Kombat, like the 1995 versus Annihilation?
I mean,
I
Annihilation
remember.
is a
Yeah,
disastrous.
it's
Best
terrible.
sequel ever, you said?
But when I
That's
saw
fun as
Annihilation,
heck, yeah.
when I saw Annihilation in the theater, I was like, "This is the most garbage movie of all time." But then I had an epiphany because I bought it and I watched it again, and I just thought, I'm like, "There's ninja falling out of the sky," and
Well, that's kind of cool.
And I'm like, "This is the coolest thing ever." and then Liu Kang turned into a dragon, and I thought, this is so garbage, but it's so awesome. I'm like, and
Stop
then
motion
now
animation.
I love it. The effects are terribly, they do not hold up well at all. But I have kind of 180 on Annihilation, and now I think it's like it's sort of a genius movie because they literally said, let's just do everything that's ever happened in Mortal Kombat, and there's no storyline. And someone's like, "Is there a storyline?" And the director's like, "Storyline?
We don't
You
need no
don't need a
stinking
storyline.
storyline.
We don't need a stinking
Where
storyline.
we're going, we need no story.
Storyline. Yeah, where we're
Like,
going,
no
we don't
budget,
need a
yeah.
And they just didn't care. And plus Sonya was awesome in that. That was the
Yeah.
best Sonya Blade. She was like a kill. She kicked ass. I like Bridget Nielsen or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Bridget Wilson, not Bridget Wilson, not Bridget. I also like Bridget Nielsen as well.
Even her hair. It's like the movie starts out, you're like, oh, she cut it as they were walking.
Yeah, it's a different actress or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like we can
Oh,
do,
yeah.
we can maybe do like more if we did Mortal Kombat 1 versus this latest one, I would think one wins clearly. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
It's
it's what I
tough.
said for the new Blade coming. It's like it's going to be the same thing. It's like
yeah, Blade will suck.
the newest one with the latest technology and everything comes out, and everyone's like, you know what? I prefer the 1995 version. So yeah.
Well, listen, there's one thing. If I really like something and everyone keeps telling me that it sucks, it makes me like it more. It's this thing in me. Like I have to already like it. Like we know if everyone keeps saying Star Trek Discovery is good, that's not going to make me like Star
I
Trek
just have
Discovery.
never met someone who liked Highlander too, so it's
I
time,
love
it's time
Highlander
to expand my horizons.
Well,
so.
here's the
There's-
one. So
I'm the one.
There can be only one.
You can only do one.
Yeah, man,
Wait,
there's an
J-Man,
obvious
you don't
versus
like
to
Star
do.
Trek Discovery?
There
Yeah,
can
man,
be
there's an obvious versus to do.
Which one?
Beverly Hills Cop 1 versus 2.
Oh man, part 2 is pretty
What's
good.
that quiet?
I do.
No, that could work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
we
lethal,
could
how about
that
Lethal
might be
Weapon?
Oh.
Oh,
That
We
is
all
good.
know, though.
Let me write these down.
that will be tough.
Hold on, let me write these
1
down.
and 2.
That's actually very tough. Lethal 1 versus 2.
2 is a toilet bomb, right? No,
Yeah.
2 is the toilet bomb.
Okay.
Toilet bomb. Yep.
that's what I remember it for.
And what about RoboCop, or is it too obvious?
Most people
Original
choose 1,
versus-
but like 2 is awesome.
Yeah,
man.
one that'd be
That
tough.
might surprise you.
I love
Original
RoboCop
versus
2
the remake?
and 1.
Would you want
Die
to talk
Hard
about
1
the
versus
2014 one, or
Oh, the 2014 RoboCop is the worst film of all time. That was voted by me, and it's true.
That's
In
your
the
channel, so
theater?
it sticks.
It's
J-Man
unnecessary.
in the theater with the pen.
I was so angry. I knew it was gonna suck, and like this isn't Highlander 2 where I think it's goofy fun. It's like this was just a bad movie. It's like, oh, bad.
It had nothing to say, and the
And nothing
original
cool.
was like it was action packed, but it was witty, you know. And this one is just like let's crap out on RoboCop to retain copyright, you know.
Yeah, and the second one you could tell where they had Frank Miller's story actually made into the movie, where it was really good, and they were exploring his past more.
Yeah.
And then they kind of pulled away from, they didn't do his whole story, but there's some real great moments in 2, and I wish they'd continued them a little bit more.
Yeah, the
in
cops going
series.
strike and everything, and the commodification of cops, and yeah, that was
And-
cool.
And then the TV series is pretty good too. I like some of the RoboCop TV and the movies. Yeah.
Well, RoboCop 2 Kane, like RoboCop 2, the actual machine Kane, is one of my favorite creations. Like I think he's so badass, and that whole behave yourself.
Yeah.
So it was like, when RoboCop comes in, and you're like, now they're gonna throw down. Because see, Ed 209 was supposed to be like the big corporate machine that's terrible. No one thought it through. They just, and literally, he goes, who cares if it worked or not? It can't go downstairs, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's like, because there was no testing, right? There's no product testing. There's no design checks. Nobody checked the blueprints, but that was the joke of it, right? Like,
Yeah. Just overcharged for it. Yeah.
They just overcharged for this machine and literally the line of dialogue, he says, we had spare parts for 40 years. Who cares if it worked or not? It's like,
Yeah.
well, the old man thought it was pretty important, but like,
Yeah.
really, it's like, it doesn't work. But RoboCop 2 is badass. He, with all of his arms, he can do a lot of stuff. Like, that was a battle. That was one of the last battles I remember thinking this was a cool battle. It was stop motion and all that.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty kick ass. Though okay. I'm doing Predator 1 versus Predator 2.
I like Predator 2 actually a lot.
I love Predator 2.
People always attack me like, you thought. I'm like, Predator 2 was really good. I thought.
Predator 2.
Urban
Claudia
setting.
is still fighting me on this. What is this?
Yeah.
No,
Forgotten these.
no.
Lowlander.
No, it's genius. I also like Wonder Woman 84. That's the other joke that everyone likes to beat me up over.
That one I
okay.
got to watch again. That Wonder Woman 84, because I really didn't like it, but I got to go back and watch it to be like, why didn't I like it? Because
Yeah,
the
I love
characters
it.
were all great in that, but I got to
It's
give
a
it a
story.
second chance.
I don't
It's
like
kind
the
of
story.
like
in
Last
that.
Jedi. You know, that one I've watched numerous times in that, and because you want to know, like, well, what doesn't work? You know, because sometimes it's a matter, you're watching a movie and you're like The Last Jedi, it's like, well, I would change this, take out that,
Right.
you know, edit this down. But Wonder Woman 84, yeah, I just have to watch it again.
Yeah, Wonder Woman 84 versus the original might be an idea, but I agree with Double C here too. What about the Wolverine movies? Because Logan versus the Wolverine would be a really good one to do.
Yeah, we could try that. I'm going to write that one down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
J-Man,
think Logan
commented
was pretty
on your
stellar.
video. I commented on your video earlier.
I saw that,
X-Men.
yeah.
I dove
I
deep
can tell you what's
into
going
Wolverine.
on with that. I'll tell you what's going on. I'm going to end the stream now because we're like way off topic. But I'll talk
It's
for a
been fun
minute.
though.
It was great. Okay, so guys, everyone's links, Ron, I put your link up on the screen. Mark
Thank you.
and Sean and Steve too. Your guys' links are always in my descriptions for live streams, even if you're not on them.
Thank
so
you.
Mark, I've graduated you to that.
Awesome. I'm gonna add Sean's and Steve, all you guys too. J-Man, I think, but now that I got your channels, I'll add. Make sure I have that same list going on YouTube, so always have you guys
Awesome.
down there too.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Yeah, Sean posts one video every 10 years, so it's very easy to follow
All good.
him.
Please comment, man.
Yes, listen. So it's worth it. But
Hey,
okay, guys.
J-Man.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Sorry, could I hawk something really quick?
Yeah.
Going back to Marx Brothers. So one of the silent animated films I made, this is like several years ago, featured the Marx Brothers. And there's a book by an author named Matthew Hahn. It's Hahn. And the book is called Marx Toons. And he has snippets from all the animated series in that. So, and I think he has like two of my stills from my movie in there. So I
Great.
just wanted
Nice.
to
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. So yeah, your link was up in there, and I can, and then because now you're kind of coming on a couple of times, so I'll add you on the next round.
Thank you.
But okay, guys, we're gonna end it off there. We're gonna be live on Saturday night talking about the Book of Boba Fett, a pretty good episode finally, and for me, and we're talking about Superman and Lois, who introduced the CW. We knew it was coming.
Oh, did they have the first episodes out?
Superman episode 2 is out, and they
Oh,
had to,
yeah.
they
Yeah.
I haven't
just
seen
had,
it yet.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen it yet, but I already saw it on Twitter. So I
Yeah.
already know what's going on with the
Oh,
girl
don't
character.
tell me. But oh no,
And they
I'll have to
literally
watch it.
could not wait to do this.
No,
They-
when it happened, it went all right. Yeah.
I was
okay.
like, yeah, here we
Oh,
go.
is it something to do with one of the sons?
No.
Yeah. Well, not with one of the sons, but the other. I mean, it's not even a spoiler. You just know what it is. The fact that we're just talking about it, everybody already. Anyways, whatever.
Someone has a secret.
Someone's got
Someone's
a
a secret.
secret. We're going to talk about it on Saturday and whatever else comes up. We'll talk about Moon Knight, I suppose, that 1 second of Moon Knight that we saw. And that'll be all you see.
That's all you see. Yeah.
That's all you'll ever see with Moon
Yeah.
Knight. But okay, guys, thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Hey friends, you've just been listening to J-Man, and he is the smartest person who ever lived. So make sure you like and subscribe.